Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Looking to page 58. Srinivasa, chanting of the holy name from Gita Amrit. 58. Yashamati Nandana Braja Varunagara Gokula Ranjana सर्वभूतलयं गुणमानतोऽस्मि यशानुभावमयशुचिसारमेकम् अध्यात्मदीपमन्त्रियशान्तमोदनं संसारिणां करुणयापपुराणमूल्यं तं व्याससूर्यमुपयामि गुरुर्मुनीनां नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये कमनीयकिशोरमुखमूर्ते कल्पे गुरुनिदानन्दो मम वाचि चन्द्रदामुरारे मधुरिणां हरिकापि नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णभक्ताय भूतये श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिधि नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वतीदेवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे श्रीगुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः वन्देन सर्वदस्तेन पादरेणुमहेश्वरं यासमयतो गीतं गुणायै वनत्रयं गोपीचरणारविन्दपरमानवे नमः पीताम्बरं करविराजचक्रशङ्खं कौमोदनी सदृशं करुणासमुद्रं राधासहायमतिसुन्दरमन्दहासं वातालयेशमनिशं त्रिभावयामि कोमलं पूजयं वेणुं श्यामलोऽयं कुमारका वेदवेद्यवरं ब्रह्म वाससं पुरतो मम मूढं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते यत्कृपाकरं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीकृष्णाय नमः सर्वगोविन्दनामसङ्कीर्तनं गोविन्द गोविन्द। That's what we were discussing so far. Acharya Swami says there, Salsangatve Nisangatvam, Nisangatve Nurmohatvam, Nurmohatve Nishchalatatvam, Nishchalatatve Jivan Mukti. So that Jivan Mukti, liberated state, while living within this body, even that as a goal, when we keep it in our friends, what you have recognized there is that Jivan Mukta Avastha is already there inside us. That means when we say Nitya Shuddha Mokha Mukta Swarupam, it's already a liberated thing inside. What is happening there is that by very nature itself, the soul is a liberated thing. Its soul is liberated. And it is never bound. The soul is never bound. Krishna mentions that in the Bhagavatam, Bandho Muktaiti Vyakhi Manado Mena Vastuda. It's always free. Soul is always free. But Nakadajal Bandha. So eternally it is a liberated thing. Soul is a liberated object. It's always eternally liberated. What's happening there is when it says Jivan Mukta Avastha or liberated state means that totally liberated object we get it back. We get that back again. That is why in Bhagavatam it uses the word Nityanabhuta Vijalabha Nivarta Trishna. Nityanabhutam it is. It is Nityam. Eternally it is a liberated thing. What is our identity is. So, when we got Nityanubhudam means which gives us Anubhuti, that realization eternally. When we get that back, we lose all our desires. That is the principle. Other desires, what Krishna talks about in the Bhagavad Gita. Prajahadi yada kaman sarvan bhakta manogadan. Similarly, all desires will leave us at that time when we get Krishna back to us, or the soul back to as our identity in that state. So, agraha or desires only goes in that way. It is no point in fighting with the desires. It will not work, because just like you can see, as a child you have looking for some toys. That is his pleasure. That is his desire as a little child. When the child grows up and it has come to understand that the toys are no more interesting, according to his development, the desires have left him. He didn't give it up. The desires left him. Similarly, when he grows up and becomes a young man, when he starts working, then all attraction towards those toys, everything goes away, leaves him. So at different stages in life, you can see the desires leaves and goes away. In other words, desires are not real. That is the important thing. Desires are not real. Because we recognize them, they become a reality. They become a reality. Everything in this life is like that. So many desires we develop in the young age. And then as you advances in age, you see the futility of all those things. And you can see only by recognizing them, they have become inside a power. Inside a desire has become a power inside. Otherwise, as soon as you leave that phase, it goes away. Similarly, Krishna is saying in the Bhagavad prayers also it says, in Bhagavatam it says, Nityani Bhuta Nijalava Nivukta Krishna. That Nityani Bhuta Vastu, which is our pure identity, our spiritual identity. When that comes back, Nijalava Nivukta Krishna, all Krishna desires gets freed from ourselves. It leaves us and goes away. We don't have any more desires to get anything afterwards. That is the self-realization process. So that is what we were discussing last Sunday. Why we picked up this word Salsangatvam? Salsangatvam is Salsangatvam. Salsangam is the most powerful way of spiritualizing a person. One takes to spiritualize very quickly through Salsangam. That is why it is recommended, and it is Krishna is also stressing that point in the Bhagavatam. For this reason only, main advantage of Satsangam is there is no kartrutvam in there. I am the doer doesn't exist in there, isn't it? Because what is jnana, knowledge means? Knowledge means freedom from kartrutvam. I am the doer. Freeing oneself from kartrutvam is jnana, is knowledge. And that kartrutvam exists even in every sadhana what we do in spiritual life. Without kartrutvam, it is difficult to execute any sadhana in this world, except satsangam. And that is precisely the reason why satsangam has been spoken as the easiest process what Krishna has spoken in the Srimad Bhagavatam in the 12th chapter of the 11th canto, and here also satsangatvam, nisangatvam, nisangatvam or mohatvam. From this we can understand that every desire is becoming reality only when you recognize that desire. Only when you recognize that desire. So, in a similarly, if we recognize our desire as Krishna, to get Krishna as our desire, then all other things, what we are desiring now, will leave us and go. Other desires, what we have in us, will leave us if we recognize Krishna as our desire. Krishna as the desire. So, in other words, no effort is required. Spiritual life is the only field where effort is not required. Effort is not a part of spiritual life. Effort is not a part of life. So, if somebody asks this question, just by desiring will you get Krishna? The answer to that then the only object in this world, what you can get, not by desire, not by work, but by desiring, is Krishna. Krishna is the only object in this world which you can get by desiring, but not by working. Not by working. All other things in this world is not, you don't get them by desiring them. You have to put the effort into it to get it. Everything else in this world, whether it is name, fame, followers, money, wealth, whatever it is in this world, whatever you are looking for, all other things, you have to put effort to get it. Krishna is the only thing where you don't have to put effort into it, only desiring is sufficient. That is where the difference is. So, everything except Krishna, everything else in this world depends on karma. It depends on the karma. Whereas Krishna alone depends on Shraddha. Depends on Shraddha. That is the main difference. The Krishna is the only thing in this world which depends on Shraddha. Shraddha is the thing. Whereas everything else is dependent on the work you put into it. Because the reason for that is Krishna is already, you have got it. That is why when we study Bhagavatam, you have to take notice of these things. That Prahlad Maharaj is saying there, Siddhatva Iha Sarvada. Isn't it? He says there, Siddhatva. He says in the Bhagavatam that you have already got it. It's not something that has to come from outside. We already have Krishna inside that. Siddhatva Iha Sarvada. Bhagavatam Prabhupada says like that. So, and only thing that doesn't require any karma. No work is involved in this process. Only thing you have to recognize this, that Krishna is inside, and anything outside what we have to get, we have to work for that. We have to work for that. And if you want to buy anything, you have to engage in work, you have to earn money to buy that. But this is Siddha Vastu, what you have already got it. And only thing what is required is you have to desire for that. That's all what it is expected from us. So, what will happen is, what does desiring mean? Desiring means to absorb the mind in that. Mind is the one where desires all happen, isn't it? Then what will happen? All the other desires will go, and finally, when you put your desire towards Krishna, that desire also will go away, because only Krishna will remain inside. Krishna alone will remain inside. What is Krishna inside? That we have already seen in the Bhagavad Gita, isn't it? Aham alma gudagresha sarva bhudashaya sthida aham adyancha madhyancha bhutanam andamevacha. That is how that desire also goes away. Because when we recognize that Krishna is within, Krishna is present there, and that recognition will eventually, when it matures, that desire also goes, I have to get Krishna. That desire also goes away, because what happens? Aham alma gudagesha state comes. That alma, which is Krishna present inside, that realization will come. Ahanda or false ego inside, with which I have falsely identified all this time, that goes away at that point. So, so that is what it is. So, Krishna says to Arjuna, Arjuna, before all these things happened, I was existing. And at the end, I am there. And in the middle also, I am there. That's what that verse means, isn't it? Aham alma gudagesha sarva bhudashaya sthida aham adyamcha madhyamcha bhutanam andamevacha. I am there in the beginning, I am there at the end, I am there in the middle as well. Not only that, in all the three states I am there. In Jagal Sapnam Sushupti, working state, waking state, the dream state, and the deep sleep, I am there at that time. So, in all states of existence, and when the body is continuously changing, the intelligence is changing, the mind is changing, that one object remains without any change, unchanged. That's the difference. Body is changing, intelligence is changing, mind is changing, three states of existence comes and goes, and constantly we are changing this body. But this one thing inside never changes. No change to that, isn't it? That is why it's called Nityanubhudam. Nityanubhudam means eternally the same thing, never changes at any time. So So, Krishna is saying there that in the Bhagavad Gita, that if you want to get that, what is required is Shraddhavan Labhave Jnanam, Krishna says. Shraddha is what is required. Put your Shraddha into it. If you look into Bhagavad Gita, you will see in the 5th chapter, there is a word Krishna mentions there, how to put that Shraddha into it. 5th chapter, verse 17. Tad-buddhaya tadalmana tannishta kalparayana gacchandi apunaravrtim jnananardhuta kalmashaha. Tad-buddhaya tadalmana tannishta kalparayana gacchandi apunaravrtim jnananardhuta kalmashaha. When one's intelligence, mind, faith and refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation. That's the answer. Tad-buddhaya tadalmanam tannishta tadparayana gacchandi apunaravartim jnananardhuta kalmashaha. Krishna is telling us what one has to do to come to that state. One's own buddhi, intelligence, oneself, talparayana, completely surrender to Krishna. Complete shelters Krishna. In that case, what will happen is, Gacchandi Apunaravartim. Where will this happen? Gacchandi Apunaravartim means no more accepting another material body, no Punarjanma, no another rebirth again. Jnananardhuta kalmasha. The power of the knowledge of the self completely destroys all other sinful reactions from within. What is it inside? That's completely destroyed by the power of the knowledge of the self. At the moment we do not know because of the lack of that realization of the self. That's what Krishna is saying there. So everything, where does it happen? Where it happens is, with intelligence you hear about Krishna. With intelligence you hear about Krishna. And then you are meditating inside, that's me. That knowledge of the self, that's me. That knowledge. And maintaining this body for the sake of self-realization. All activities centered around self-realization. That's what it is. Tad-buddhaya, tadalmana, tannishta. And the very goal of life itself is when he decides that I am on my way back to the spiritual world or back to self-realization. In the Chinese language, it is realizing the truth. In devotee's language, going back home back to Godhead. There is no difference. But tad-buddhaya, tadalmana, tannishta, talparayana. And what will happen? That is, that decision what one makes, that going back home back to Godhead or realizing the truth, self, is my goal of life. That is called parayana, talparayana. And then making that decision is talparayana and make it firm and deeply rooted inside. Where will all these things will happen? These things will only happen in the satsangam. In satsangam these things happen. You hear with the ears, you think with your intelligence, and you meditate on that in your own heart, and gacchandi apunaravartim. And guarantee what Krishna is saying there, you won't come back again. Because that is how in satsangam all these things are happening. And some people, it is like that in satsangam. Satsangam, it is like that. Two kinds of people don't come back to satsangam. Don't come back to satsangam. Some people, once they have got the truth, they won't come back again. From this satsangam, they have realized their truth, they will not come back again. And there's other people who couldn't get anything from the satsangam, they also won't come back. They also won't come back because they couldn't get anything from that. No realization, so they naturally go away. So different people have different understanding. But in satsangam, what Krishna is saying in Bhagavatam also, that in satsangam alone, this seed will be sown of the realization of the self, that will be sown. So sometimes people will come, they will look and they will go away. So there also there are two kinds of people, those who come and look and go away. So very difficult to talk about that because sometimes what happens is that in one instance, one sannyasi was speaking, and there were so many people listening there, and he spoke with so seriously about it, said that the subject is a very vast subject, and also and it's also a very deep subject. He mentioned that, but the main problem is the time is very, very short. Time is very, very short. A young boy who was 15 years old was sitting there. As soon as he heard these words, he got up and left. And that person, he became a very famous personality later in his life. Because when this message comes, how seriously it goes inside, that is an important factor. It enters inside and it can create a great change inside in some people's life. It has happened in the past. So because the Swamiji who spoke about that, he said that subject is a vast, which is a reality. The subject is a very vast subject. And also it's a very deep subject. You can see when we start studying Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam very deeply, you will see that it is unlimited. The realization that comes from the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam is very unlimited it is. It is not on the surface you just read through the book. The depth of realization that one gets in spiritual life from Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam is unlimited. Because it is like that, so therefore this thing had happened in Satsangam. In Satsangam, come closer.
Must have used all the power on the celebrations. Switch all the lights by the tents.
So in Satsangam, this happens. This happens in Satsangam. And the example in the Upanishads they talk about is you can light another fire from a burning fire. From a burning fire. Similarly, from consciousness only you can transmit this message to another consciousness. You can't do that from a video or from a photo or from another medium. It is not possible. Therefore, from ancient times, the system was always that only from consciousness this message gets transmitted into another consciousness. So, just like you can light one lamp only from another lamp in the same way. So what is the benefit of this Satsangam? Because in Satsangam, what happens is Satsangam. Satsangam happens. So, while staying in the Satsangam, naturally the Sangam with the soul happens in a person. Only then you will start thinking about the soul. So when somebody talks about the soul, isn't it? Otherwise, who thinks about the soul? We think about the body 24 hours, is it not? But attention from the body goes to the soul only when it is spoken. Somebody talks about the soul, only when we think about the soul, attention falls on the soul. That Sangam, what happens inside, where does that Sangam happen? It happens with the Sattva. Sattva that is inside, isn't it? So, what is that Sattva? That is our pure identity. Our identity is that Sattva. That is why it says here, when we lose connection or when we disconnect ourselves from all things which we are not, like the body, mind, intelligence, ego, and this external world, when we disconnect from all that, and when we establish our connection with the Vastu, the Sangam, with the Sat inside, that is when spiritual life begins. When spiritual life begins. So when the connection with the soul begins, at that time, what they say in Bhagavatam is, you have left everything which is moving. All other things are moving. Moving means they are changing or they are moving. Everything in this world is moving. Even the scientists agree with that now, that even dead matter like this, inside they are saying there is movement of the protons and electrons and neutrons and things like that. So chalanam or movement is a part of everything else except the soul. Soul doesn't move. Soul is always achalam. That is why soul alone is achalam. That is why Krishna will say in the Bhagavad Gita, Nityam sarvagadasthanu achaloyam sanatana. There is a word achalam. That in the second chapter, if you look, you will see there. It is only for that to leave everything that is moving, which is chalam, and to get to the grip with achalam that does not move. That is spiritual life. Spiritual life is that moving away from everything that is moving. Moving means changing. Everything in this world is changing, including our body, mind, intelligence, ego, senses. Everything is constantly changing. But that one thing inside which doesn't change, Krishna calls it as achalam. If you look in the second chapter, 24th verse, what Krishna calls it there. In the second chapter, 24th verse, Krishna is saying there, Nityam achedyoyam adakyoyam akledyo shoshyame Nityam sarvagadasthanu achaloyam sanatana achedyoyam adakyoyam akledyo shoshyame Nityam sarvagadasthanu achaloyam sanatana. This individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble and can be neither burned nor dried. He is everlasting, all-pervading, and then you see the word unchangeable. It's unchangeable. You can't change the soul. Everything else you can change in this world, the soul can't change. Immovable and eternally the same. So if we release ourselves, from the grip of these moving things, then automatically it will go to attention will go into the soul. Attention will go into which doesn't move. From chalanam to achalam. From chalam to achalam. Chalam is everything else. When we say this, Krishna has used those words in the Bhagavad Gita in that way. Everything that is chalam, you lose your grip on that. Naturally, you will come to the state of achalam, So, Sanatana, Krishna calls it there, isn't it? Eternal. Eternal principle, eternal truth, or timeless truth, whichever way you want to call that. So, in other words, beyond time and space. Beyond time and space. And that is why, when that self-realization happens, Acharya Swami uses the word there, Nischala Tattva, Nischalata, no chalanam anymore. That Nischalata is the qualification, or not qualification, Nischala is the state where there is no more chalanam after that. Mind does not move anymore. Mind does not move anymore. And that state is called the Jivan Mukti state. Jivan Mukti state. So that state can happen in any dress. It doesn't mean that you have to change your clothes, you have to grow beard or keep long hair or shave or anything, whatever it is, or saffron or may change the name and things like that. That is on the external side. All those things happen. But inside that, Shanti comes to the mind in such a way that there is no more changes or movement happens in the mind. That is that Jivanmukta state Krishna is talking about. But these other things, what we talk about, changing the cloth and to saffron or having a particular way of dressing and keeping way we dress ourselves present into the world, those things are not rejected, but at the same time that Brahmavidya is not dependent on that. The knowledge of the soul, Brahmavidya or Atmavidya is not dependent on that. So, but when somebody is in a satsangam, in a natural way, that when that relationship with the Sat starts building up, which means relationship with Krishna is building up, naturally, automatically, Krishna's presence will be experienced. Krishna's presence will be experienced. There is an interesting story about this. There were three famous alvars. Alvars means who goes very deeply into things. Very deeply they absorb things in that. So when you read about this in the prior to Ramanujacharya's time, that there were three alvars, Budalvar, Periyalvar and Poye Alvar. These three alvars, and they were deeply absorbed in Krishna. Deeply absorbed in Krishna. In one instance, all three of them were traveling, and at one point, when it started raining heavily, there was a thunder, lightning and everything. One of the alvars got into a shade somewhere underneath the tree. There was a small constructed raised platform-like thing. He wanted to shelter there till the rain stops. So he got up there and he got in there. So he got there and he was alone at that time. He went there and he was lying down there. By chance, the second alvar, this was Budalvar was lying down and Periyalvar came after a while. And he came there. He also happened to come to the same way. And he saw that there was a shelter there and he wanted to take shelter. When he walked in, Budalvar was lying down there. Budalvar says to him, two of us can sit here, both of us cannot lie down, there is not enough space. Only two of us can sit together. We can sit together, that space is available, he said. In a short time, the third alvar also came in the same way. And he was also looking for a shelter. When the third one came inside, they said that, both of them said, three people can stand here, only two people can sit, three of us cannot stand. In that mentions there is an example, all three of them stood there together. When three of them were together, the fourth one automatically came there. In other words, what it means is, in the alvar's case, what they are talking about is, when the Jagrat state, Swapnam, Sushupti, when all these three states are there, the fourth state, Turiya Avastha, which is the liberated state, also must happen there, at that place. It must happen. When Jagrat, Swapnam, Sushupti is there, along with that, Turiya state is also must happen sometime at that place, because in devotees' language, when three devotees join together, Krishna also comes there. It is eventually. So Satsangam is in that way that somewhere this vastu, self-realization, will happen to somebody at some point in time. Very difficult to say who will receive that realization. That depends on Krishna's mercy. Krishna reveals that to someone. Because who will succeed in freeing himself from the dead matter, from Jadam, and he will see the truth inside the Sattva. Sattva and Asat is there, isn't it? Asat is everything what we are not, and Sat is what we are. So when that realization of the Sat happens, how the Asat will go, that will very difficult to say, because at some point in time, when one's Chittabuddhi stops completely, Nischalada means a total silence there, at that point the truth will be revealed up to him. And truth is already there, but the experience of the truth will happen at that point. That's what it mentions. Nischala Tattve Jivan Mukti. Salsangatve Nisangatvam. How it progresses. From Salsangam comes Nisangada. Detachment. Realizing that nothing in this world is important. And we have to value it in that way. To give something what it doesn't deserve is not an intelligent thing. The world has its value and you have to value it in that way. Salsangatva Nisangatvam. When one is advancing on the spiritual path, he frees himself from the influence of the asat. At that time he sees the world in a different way, and that state is called Nisangada. Nisangada means freedom from the grip of everything that is temporary. From Salsangam that happens. From Nisangatve Namohatam. Namohatam means that delusion goes away inside. That the changing nature of this world, changing nature of the body, mind, intelligence, ego, all these things will have its effect on us. And you start realizing to take shelter of any of these things for the soul is not very ideal state. To take the shelter of any of these changing forms like body, mind, intelligence, ego, the world, everything. If you take any shelter of any of these things, it will turn into distress later on. So that's why that moham, delusion, that all this is a shelter, that goes away. That comes from Nisangata. Nisangatve Nirmohatvam. And Nirmohatve Nischalatatvam. When that state has happened, at some point in time, Chittavritti comes down and it becomes very quietened inside. The more Chittavritti, suddenly the soul inside reveals itself to that person and he sees that that's what I am. Nischala Tattve Jivan Mukti. Nirmohatve Nischala Tattva. And when that Nischalata, freedom from that movement, what Krishna says here, that in the last verse, that Achadyoyam, Adakyoyam, Apledyo, Shoshumevacha, Nityam Sarvagata Sthanu, Achaloyam Sanatana. How to define the soul? Krishna has defined it like that. Nityam Sarvagataha Sthanu, Achaloyam Sanatana. That is the soul. It's eternal. Sarvagataha, it is everywhere. There is no place where there is no soul. Sarvagataha, Sthanu, and it is always in one place. Sthanu, it stays in one place, as though it's fixed there. Achaloyam, it has no chalanam or movement anywhere. Sanatana, at the same time it is eternal. So, here, you will see here that at some point in time, that the Chittavritti, what it does is, it creates a curtain, not allowing us to see that truth behind it. When that curtain moves away, when the curtain goes away, then through a gap you can see the truth. That is what we say here, that just like you can see, when you go to Bhagavihari temple in Vrindavan, what do you see there? You will see them, they will put the curtain and they will take the curtain off. Then 10 or 15 minutes again they will put the curtain back and they will take the curtain away after that. Constantly putting in and taking out. You must have noticed those are gone there. You've seen that. Yeah, very short period of time they will show that. So this similarly, Krishna is also there in everybody in the same way. But this curtain is, the only thing is this curtain has not opened so far. And therefore he couldn't see that Krishna's presence inside. But so Nischala Tattvam is like that when the Nischala Tattvam stage comes, suddenly the curtain goes away and Krishna comes out from inside. So that is what in Yoga Shastra they call it as Chittavritti Nirodham. When the Chittavritti completely goes away, then immediately Prajna, the consciousness inside or awareness, it will come out and it will have to manifest itself. And that is what's called Nischala Tattvam. Nischala Tattva Jivan Mukti. So, if this happens while we are within this body, if it happens, that is what is called as freedom. In the Shastra, freedom means this. While living within this body, if you can free yourself from the effect of the body and come back to your own spiritual identity and realize the truth of the self inside, prajna or consciousness or awareness of what we are, if that happens, in Shastra, that is what is called freedom. In the mundane world, material world, we call freedom something else, isn't it? What do we say here? Freedom means some foreign power came, occupied, we threw them out, we got freedom, we say. And then some another power comes and takes over, and then you lose your freedom. Another one comes and then they throw out, you get freedom back again. So that freedom, which is relationship, what is spoken in the mundane world, is different than the freedom in spiritual life. Freedom in spiritual life is when this curtain goes away from inside, and when our pure identity, spiritual identity manifests. That is freedom. That is our freedom. And if that happens while within this body, that is how the freedom in this life is defined here. While living within this body itself, all kinds of bondage is broken. All kinds of bondage is freedom from all bondages. From all bondage. Freedom from all bondage while within this body. That is what is the Jivanmukta Avastha. So, So only to remind us that this freedom from all the or other things like body, mind, intelligence, ego, from the world, from attachments, everything. Total freedom, release from all of that. That is the goal of life. And only to remind us that all the great Mahatmas come to this world only for this purpose. To remind us that this is exactly what freedom means. Freedom means this, that you get freedom from the body, freedom from the mind, freedom from the intelligence, freedom from the ego, and freedom from the world, everything. That is real freedom. Whereas in the mundane way, it is freedom for the body, freedom for the mind, isn't it? Freedom for people. Sometimes we will see people saying we should have the freedom of expression, they say. They consider that very important. Freedom of expression, isn't it? They say democracy is so good that we've got so much freedom, they say. But in spiritual world, spiritual life, those things are not considered freedom at all, because that's all related to body, mind, intelligence and ego. And that freedom is not permanent. You may have freedom today, tomorrow you may lose that freedom. You may get it back again, you may lose it again. So all that freedom has no meaning. Eternal freedom is what Krishna is talking about also in Bhagavad Gita, is that freedom where you have completely freed yourself from the grip of the body, mind, intelligence, ego and the world altogether. So all great devotees comes for this purpose. All the great jnanis, acharyas, devotees, all great personalities, they come for this purpose only. They have no other interest in this world. To remind us again and again that that is freedom means. Because we don't know what freedom is. We always think freedom in other terms. But to make us aware that real freedom, genuine freedom is this freedom, that when one gets free from the body and not to come back again to accept another body here again, isn't it? So that's what the final goal is. To get not to accept another material body again, because Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita, the result is Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi Dukha Dosha Darshanam. 4 things will naturally follow that. If you accept another body again, means the same process, birth, death, old age and disease. Krishna also mentions there that you will see that in the 10th chapter also, that Dukhalayam Shashwadam. Dukhalayam Shashwadam. Mamuveti Punarjanmam Dukhalayam Shashwadam. He says there, isn't it? Dukhalayam Shashwadam. That is the nature of this world as far as Krishna is concerned. It is Dukhalayam because there is always miseries are always continuously existing here. You can't escape from that. And it is also temporary. Because of its very temporary nature. So Mamuveti Punarjanma Dukhalayam Shashwadam, Krishna says, is it not? So, if you look into all the great personalities, you will see, at a very early age in life, they were clear about this truth, what they wanted in life. They were so clear in there. And when this has happened to them, it's very difficult to say. Maybe from the previous life it has followed them, whatever it is. In Shankaracharya's case, in the age of 7, he has this Brahma Jignasa developed very strongly inside. At the age of 7, he left home because of this. Now, even at 70, it's not happening to people. They are still thinking, is it worthwhile or not? They are still not made up their mind whether to inquire after the truth or not. Shankaracharya's case, at 7 years old child, he had this desire. He had this desire, woke up inside to want to come out of this, get out of this material existence. So that is why sometimes, because it hasn't come up in the parents, the children also have to go in that road. Because parents also feel that it is not necessary, maybe for the old age to be kept everything. Not only when the Brahma Jignasa should not happen when you are young, it should only happen after 70 or 80. And that is what the parents say to the children. So children also goes in the same way. So sometimes they will give examples also from the Shastram. They will say, look at Ramchandra, he had to listen to Dasharatha. Dasharatha told him, you go to the forest and he has gone there. In the same way, they will use Dasharatha as an example of how one should listen to the parents. They'll use that. So all these kinds of things are going on. But at the same time, you have to, when somebody mentions that, you have to ask that question back to them. Ramachandra heard what Dasharatha said, but Prahlada didn't hear what Hiranyakashipu said. Did he? That's the answer to that. What else can you answer? When Ramachandra was told by Dasharatha, because many parents use all these examples from the Shastra to get what they want to get done from the children, either to whichever way their desires are going, whatever to fulfill those desires, they will say like this. That Ramachandra has listened to Dasharatha. Why don't you listen to me? That's our tradition, they will say. Well, it's there in the Bhagavatam, Prahlada never listened to Hiranyakashipu, anything what he said. So that's also there in the Shastra. So what can you do? If it is Dasharatha, I can hear, but if it is Hiranyakashipu, how can I hear? You have to ask that question back, isn't it? So, less like Hiranyakashipu, even at the age of 85 and 90, if you are not getting taste for Krishna consciousness, what can you do? What can you do? Because Prahlada says, Kaumara Acharye Prajnaha Dharmam Bhagavadaniha Durlabham Manusham Janmam Tadatyadro Maktadam. Prahlada is talking to his friends, isn't it? That Kaumara Acharye Prajnaha, if it happens earlier in life, the best. The earlier it happens, it is the best. So, this child, a 7 years old boy, he walked from Kaladi to Madhya Pradesh, where he met his spiritual master. Imagine that at the age of 7, he walked over a distance of over 1,000 miles to meet the spiritual master. He walked all that distance at the age of 7. Why? Brahma Jignasa inside. The desire to realize the truth here itself in this lifetime. So, and from there, he met the banks of the river, Narmada river in Madhya Pradesh, where he met his spiritual master, Govinda Bhagavad, and then he moved from there to Benares. He spent 2 years with his teacher. So, you can see how Brahma Jignasa changes. If we, in that age and that genuine, serious inquiry inside to know the truth, they are willing to walk 1,000 miles, isn't it? Nowadays, if you say, wow, Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam, they'll say how far it is, I can't go that far. You find it difficult to come from Edgeware to Watford. That is how difficult it has become for the people now. That is how strong the Brahma Jignasa is inside. So this 8-year-old child, he travelled to Madhya Pradesh, and from there was no buses or train, anything at that time, and met Govinda Bhagavad and stayed there for 2 years. To become the Jivanmukta state, 2 years is a long period of time to come to that Jivanmukta state. So 2 years he spent there, and perhaps at the age of 10 or 11, he travelled all the way from there to Benares. And while speaking on the banks of Ganga river in Benares, he was discussing at the age of 11 Upanishads with the scholars who were present there. He was discussing Upanishads there with the scholars who were present in Benares with them. And while living there, one day he was walking through one of the streets, where he was walking through one of the alleyways in Benares. It was at that time a very old man who was probably in his 90s. He is sitting there and reading this book. Which book? In Sanskrit there is a famous grammarian. He is called Panini. Panini wrote what is well known as Panini Sutra. Vyakarana Sutra it is called. Vyakarana Sutra. Like in Gaudiya Vaishnava, Jiva Goswami wrote some Harinama Vyakarana, using the holy name for laying down the rules of Vyakarana. But Panini's is so famous that all the acharyas followed Panini's grammar book. That it was so famous, Panini. Panini wrote the grammar rules for Sanskrit Bhasha, Sanskrit language, and they are all in the form of sutram in there. So this old man who is 88, 90 years old, and this 11-year-old boy is walking through the street, and this 80-year-old man is sitting there and reciting this Panini Sutram there. What was the Sutram? Sutram was this, that Dukkun Karane. You will see in the first verse, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Modamate, Samprate, Sannihide Kale, Nahi Rakshadi, Dukkun Karane. Dukkun Karane is the Sutram. He kept on repeating this, old man trying to remember this, forgetting everything very easily. Nothing is staying in. So he keep repeating this Dukkun Karane. He keep on repeating this, trying to memorize it. When Shankaracharya saw that, he felt very sorry for him. And you can see this in your own life also. If you look, sometimes you will see this. Sometimes you will notice these things. One day, traveling by train, there was one man, very old man, and he has got a book with him. He's reading that, how to drive the car. He was so old, he could never imagine that he will drive the car again in his life. But he is reading this book very seriously, how to drive a car. So like this, you will get people like that in this world who haven't got any proper direction in life, no goal, no proper direction. He was doing like this. So when he saw this, then first of all, you may think that I was reading something very seriously, but then when you peep through and you see that this is what they are reading, so serious about it. So, but at the same time, you can see that that person is not going to drive a car again in life. You can see from the age itself. Oh, why is he reading that book? He hasn't got anything else to do. So he's found something to read. So the same situation happens with many people also. That that time when Shankaracharya was walking through that valley, it was actually the twilight time, early hours in the morning, just before sunrise. So he was walking through that and he's chanting this Dukkun Karane. He kept on repeating that. So Acharya Swamiji saw this. He's 11 years old, 10 or 11 years old, and he was 80 years old, remember that. And he thought whether to mention or not. By nature, he will speak what he has to say. He won't look age or anything, doesn't matter to them. That was their very nature, is like that. So he went up to him and told him, because sometimes we can see in life, sometimes we feel we should not say certain things. Sometimes you say you should say it, even though it is, some people won't listen to it, they won't take it seriously. So anyway, I thought let him hear what I have to say. If he takes it seriously or not, doesn't matter. So sometimes you can see, sometimes people will come and they'll come say something to you, and if you say to them, then don't talk like that, bad about somebody or something like that, then you start talking about you then. So that also happens in this world. So you stop talking about bad others and then start talking about you directly to you. So, so here, sometimes it may not work, what I'm talking about that. So therefore, just like at home, sometimes we can see you go to some houses. In that evening hours, which is meant for spiritual life, they'll put on their TV. TV is on. And whole family, father, mother, grandfather, grandmother, grandchildren, children, all sitting together and watching a serial together. And if you tell them that don't do this, it's not the right thing to do at this time of the day, they will say, oh, such a Vedantist has come to tell us Vedanta about this. They'll take it that way, the opposite way. If you say anything, lie to them. So, and then they'll start talking about you after that. They'll stop the serial and say how bad you are, how seriously everything has gone wrong in your life. Things like that. So, so Acharya Swamiji also, when he saw this old person and keeps on repeating this Dukkun Karane, he says to him that Dukkun Karane is not going to help you, he said to him. Dukkun Karane is not going to help him. Because he mentions this in Bhagavad Gita Bhashyam also, that not only all other subjects in this world, even things like grammar and things like that, that is all, as far as he is concerned, is Abharavidya. Abharavidya, avidya. everything that is Abharavidya. That's why in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about Paraprakriti, Abharaprakriti. Knowledge also in the similar way, it's Paravidya and Abharavidya. So, Abharavidya, all other Vidya is only for filling the belly. All other Vidya is only worthwhile as far as filling the belly, that's only for that purpose. See? So therefore, the word in the Shastra means Upajivanam. Upajivanam means Jivanam. Krishna mentions this in the Bhagavad Gita. If you look, you will see it there. Punyoganda Pradivyansha Tejaschasmi Vibhavaso Jivanam Savabodeshu Tapaschasmi Tapasvisho. In the 7th chapter. 7th chapter is a very important chapter. That is why we discussed that before. There is important verse there. 9th verse in the 7th chapter. Krishna mentions there, Punyoganda Pradivyansha Tejaschasmi Vibhavaso Jivanam Sarvabhudeshu Tapaschasmi Tapasvishu. That Jivanam. What is that Jivanam? Jivanam is this, that in the 9th verse, in the 7th chapter, you will see that Krishna mentions there, I am the original fragrance of the air, I am the heat in fire, I am the life of all that lives, and I am the penances of all ascetics. So, see that Jivanam Sarvabhudeshu. So, for that Jivanam, all this knowledge will help. Which one? Abharavidya. Abharavidya is for Jivanam. Paravidya is for self-realization. That's the difference. Abharavidya is only useful for Jivanam. For Jivanam, to keep this body in this world is only worth that much, not more than that. Jivanam Sarvabhodeshu, Tapaschasmi Tapasvishu. So that Jivanam, which is also known as Upajivanam, that means, in other words, only to maintain this body, only to maintain this body. But if you make the bodily maintenance as the life, then you have lost it. Purpose of living is not maintaining the body. That's the first thing. Maintaining the body. Normally what happens is, over a period of time, we think that's all our purpose is. It becomes very strongly fixed in us that to maintain the body I have to work. This situation comes. That is not the goal. Actually, it can never be the goal. That's what it is mentioned there. Jivanam Sarvabhodeshu. Jivanam is that for the sake of, for Jivanam, you are maintaining the body. Not Jivanam for the sake of, for the sake of Jivanam, you are maintaining the body. But if bodily maintenance it becomes a life, Jivanam, then that is a very difficult situation. In Ramayana there is an example of that. That if it is spoken in the story form in Ramayana, but the principle that it wants to bring out is this thing. That Krishna is saying here that Punyoganda, when we discussed that verse, we talked about that. What does that mean? Punyoganda Pradivyanscha Tejaschasmi Vibhavaso Jivanam Sarvabhodeshu Tapaschasmi Tapasvishu. In all of us, there is a fire in us to inducing us to live in this world. Isn't it? That's why we are living in spite of all the problems here. Still a desire to live. That is Krishna. When we discussed 7th chapter, we talked about this. What that word means. Here it mentions that I am the life of all that lives. Of course, Krishna is the life of everybody and everyone. But beyond than that Jivanam Sarvabhodeshu means, what is that keeping us going in this world? When we see all the miseries of this world, all the problems of this world, still something is keeping us, the desiring us to live, desiring to live in this world, not unable to. That means, why is that? There is in a very, very subtle level, there is a strong inquiry going on to know the truth. It's there in everybody. Only thing we won't recognize it. We are going and looking for something, thinking that will fulfill. But inside, somewhere inside in everyone, there is this desire to know what the truth is. And that is what keeping this going. And that jignasa inside, and although we may not say this to anybody, we may not express it to anyone in any way, but still there is something inside telling us that it's worthwhile living until we get to know the truth. Because the awareness inside, bodham, awareness that will keep burning that light inside, that lamp inside. So that is what Krishna calls that as jivanam, that desiring to live in this world, in everyone. That is that jivanam sarvabodesha. But that jivanam, that desiring to live, if it simply becomes for maintaining the body only, then it has lost its purpose. Athado Brahma Jignasa, isn't it? Upanishad says, Bhagavatam also says, the Brahma Sutram says, Athado Brahma Jignasa. Human body Jignasa should be for Brahma realization. Brahma Jignasa. Jivasya Tattva Jignasa. Bhagavatam puts it like that. Jivanam or Jivanam is for Tattva Jignasa, for knowing the Tattvam of life. That is the purpose, not bodily maintenance. Nowhere you will see bodily maintenance given as the goal of life. Everywhere. But what do we say normally? We will say in our mundane way, I have to pay all the bills. Actually, somewhere I have to pay the bills, so I have to work, I have to earn. This way we put it like that. But the truth is, that is not the truth. The truth is that there is some other desire inside which has not been fulfilled yet. To desire to know that truth, what it is. So, when we make bodily maintenance as the goal of life, and that means making the life as only centered around bodily maintenance, that is a fall down from that state. So, one who has made like that, in Ramayana there is a personality called Kabanda story. If you read Ramayana, you will see there. Ramachandra kills him, this Kabanda. But Kabanda's nature was that his body was very funny. His head was inside his stomach. That is a personality like that. There were all kinds of personalities in the Ramayana, you will see like this. His head was inside his stomach. In other words, he uses all his brain to fill the belly. That's what that story is all about. Those people who are using all their intelligence, mind and energy, what they have, simply for filling the belly, he is called Kabanda. He is called Kabanda. So here, this old man also, he is studying the grammar very seriously, and it was at that time, directly Acharya Swamiji went up to him and told him the first verse. Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudhamade, Samprapte Sannihide Kare, Nahi Nahi Rakshari Shukran Karane. That is the first verse he spoke to him. Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudhamade, Samprapte Sannihide Kare, Nahi Nahi Rakshari Shukran Karane. He had to say the truth. That at the time of leaving the body, Samprapte Sannihide Kare, Nahi Nahi Rakshani Dukrani Karani. There is no shelter, take shelter of Krishna. That is the message. This Dukrani Karani is not going to help you at the time of death. Young boy, 11 years old, going and telling a person who is 80 years old, how he will take it. You can see that, how much he would welcome that. He said like this to him, Nahi Nahi Rakshani Dukrani Karane. So Samprapte Sannihide Kale. If you look at those words, that you will see Kalan means Yama. He is always with us, isn't it? He is always with us. He will decide when he has to take us away, he is there, ready there with us. So, in the Ramayana, Valmiki puts it nicely. What he says there is like this, he says, Sahayeva Mrityur Vrajati, Saha Mrityur Nishidati. Actually, it is a conversation between Ramachandra and Bharata. Bharata came to Ramachandra after Ramachandra left Ayodhya. Bharata came to see Ramachandra and he invited Ramachandra back to the kingdom again. Ramachandra wouldn't go. And there is a conversation between Ramachandra and Bharata. He says, Sahayeva Mrityur Vrajati, Saha Mrityur Nishidati, Gatva Sudhirga Madhvanam, Saha Mrityur Nivratade. He says to him, Sahayeva Mrityur Vrajati, Mrityu, death, is always with you. Is always with you. And if I sit down, he also sits. If I get up, he stands up with me. Because Mrityu is so close to us every moment. He is very close to us. In what form? In the form of this body. In the form of the body, he is with me all the time. He will make the decision when he wants to leave and he will go in his own way. So, therefore, another name for the body in Shastram is called Mrityu. Mrityu is the name given to body. Mrityu is the name given to the body. And another name for the soul is Amrutatva, nectar. Nectar is the name of the soul and Mrityu is the name of the body. Mrityu is the name given to the body and nectar, Amrutatva, is the one what is given to the soul. So you will see in the Upanishads this statement that Mrityoma Amrutam Gamaya, Tamasoma Jyotir Gamaya, Mrityoma Amrutam Gamaya. What does that mean? It means this, that Mrityoma Amrutam Gamaya means come out of the body and move to the soul, to the platform of the soul. In the English translation, they'll put it some mortality to immortality, they say that. What does that mean? It means that you leave yourself from the identification with the body and come to the identification with the soul. Mrityoma Amrutam Gamaya. And it is the same thing what mentions there, Tamasoma Jyotir Gamaya, which means that you come out of darkness to light. In other words, from ignorance to knowledge. From ignorance to knowledge. Ignorance to knowledge. Tamasoma Jyotir Gamaya. Mrityoma Amrutam Gamaya. And similarly, in other words, it also mentions that come from the body to the soul. From the body to the soul. From, in other words, from Asat come to the Sat. Asadoma Sadgamaya. That's also part of the same Upanishad. Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. Asadoma Sadgamaya. Mrityoma Amrutam Gamaya. All these are from the Upanishad saying to us that, that from the Asat come to Sat. From Asadoma Sadgamaya. In other words, from the body come to the soul. Asat is another name of the body. Like Mrityu is another name of the body. Asat is also another name of the body. And Tamasat, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. Tamas is also another name of the body. Tamas is also another name of the body. Mrityu is another name of the body. Asat is also another. These are all different names for the same body, material body. And because we carry this death with us all the time, Mrityu, that's how we got the name Martyan. Martya means human being, that's how we translate it. Martya means one who carries Mrityu with him all the time. Shri Krishna Twalpado Vasanam Abhayadam Vatthamithyartha Martyasya Martyasya Manye Vyavasara Divayam Yena Sarvalpaneiva. Martyasya Martyasya Manye. Martya, he carries with him all the time, Mrityu with him, death with him. Vyavasara Divayam. Therefore, he is always in fear. Fear never leaves him. Always fear is a part of that person. Vyavasarvivayam yena sarvalpanaiva. Ekajastana. That sarvalpanaiva, completely surrendering to Krishna, Mrityu goes away. Body goes away. Or tamasat goes away. Asat goes away, in other words. So, shariram or material body, why does it say it's called tamasat? These are all in a deeper level. If you understand these words, it may make a lot of sense. Simply using the word is not good enough. Then it says there, the body on its own cannot tell you that I am existing, isn't it? Awareness is not coming from the body. Awareness is coming from the soul. My existence of my awareness of my own existence, I am existing. I am, aham. That awareness, where is it coming from? It's not coming from the body, it's coming from the soul. Because it's not, body does not know anything what it is. Body is just not a combination of different material elements. Body doesn't know anything what it is. Therefore it is called tamasa. Because it is no knowledge. It is called tamasa. And because the soul knows what it is called Jyotis. That's why that Upanishad statement you have to understand like that. Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. Jyotisa means light. Always fully conscious, that's the nature of the soul. Therefore it is called Jyotisa. And body which does not know what it has no identity anywhere. Something you have put it together and it has formed in this particular form, it has come about. But it never conscious of anything, no awareness in that. Of its own identity, it has no awareness. The awareness is not coming from the body, it's coming from the soul. So therefore, that this experience of awareness, bodham or bodhalmadam, awareness, is only coming from the soul, not from the body. Therefore, the soul is referred to as Jyotisa. So the Upanishad statement is Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. Come from Tamasa, from the body to the soul, Jyoti. Then Asadoma Sadgamaya. Asad is the body, come to the Sat, which is the soul. And Mrityoma Amridam Gamaya. Mrityu is the body, Amridam is the soul. Constantly Upanishads are telling, this is from the Kathopanishad. Upanishad says this. Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityoma Amridam Gamaya, Asadoma Sadgamaya. All this is from there. So here we can see that this travel from Jadam. Jadam means dead matter to Chaitanya, to the living force. So that is what is spoken in that way. So every moment Yama is with us. Every moment. That's what we are carrying with us, Yama. This body. That's what Yama is representing with us. Isn't it? So he says to him, Nahi nahi rakshadi dukkani karane. Nahi nahi rakshadi. Very simple, isn't it? No chance. There's not going to give you any shelter. This chanting is dukkani karane. He's not going to give you any shelter. So sometimes there are so many things about this death, how it comes to people, and what happens at the time of death. What happens at the time of death. So once it so happened that a person, he worshipped some devata, some demigod he worshipped. And they asked him that, he asked the demigod, he asked him, what boon do you want? He said, I want to know when death is going to happen to me. When death is going to happen to me. And he told him that before death happens, you should give me the power to see the death coming to get me out from this body. So this particular devata gave that benediction to him to wait for, to know that when death is going to happen. So when he was walking in his garden in the morning one morning the death came to him and he said, I'm going to take you away, body away from you. So what he did, that he immediately caught a flight and then traveled somewhere else. From there, to escape from the. So he went to some big city and then he checked into a big hotel. And he went into the room where to escape from this death who had come to visit him. So when he went in the room, opened the door, he was sitting inside the room. And he was sitting there already, the death personified. So he asked him, why have you come here? He said. So I came and asked you there, but you didn't come. So then I knew that you were coming, so I thought I'll wait here for you. And I came over here. This is how our relationship connection with the death is concerned. He's not going to leave us. I can't tell him, look, you wait for some time. I'm going somewhere else. When I come back, I'll meet you later. It's not going to work with him. He expects as soon as he comes, he says, come, I have to go with him. That is the situation like that, isn't it? So here, it is a fact. No matter how much the science progresses, we stand upside down, doesn't matter. As long as we have this body, you can take it that death is there. Death is there. As long as you have a body, death is there. What is the reason? Because another name for this body is Mrityu. Death is the name of this body. And that is why it is mentioned in that verse, Samprapte Sannihide Kale. Sannihide means that. Sannihide means when Kalan comes, time personified, when it takes you away from there, you have no shelter. You've got to surrender. You have no choice there. There is no choice given. Samprapte sannihive kale. Kalam, when kalam comes, sannihivam is present. Nahi actually dukhrani karane. Dukhrani karane won't help you. You can study anything you want, he says to him, but Mrityu is standing there, is ready to take you away at this point. You can study the Shastra and nahi actually. Nothing will protect you at this point. You can have all the doctors sitting around you, they also cannot help you. When they are all looking at you, you will die. When they are all looking at you, you will die. So, so many instances you can hear this all the time happening in the medical profession. Once, sometimes some doctors became very famous for certain type of operations. So we go to them that if he gets the operation, if he does the operation, maybe I may survive. That faith in that doctor happens in that way, isn't it? So once it so happened that the family, there was a member of the family who was very ill and had to be operated. They went and approached this particular doctor. Doctor said that I will do the operation, everything will be okay, and I can do that tomorrow. But that very night the doctor died. This is the reality of the situation. The doctor didn't turn up next day. So somebody else had to do the operation. So the same night doctor died. And there were other instances, doctor examining the patient, and while examining the patient, doctor had a heart attack and doctor died. So this is all our so-called medicine and shelter what we find in the medical science also. Sarvato mrityuhu, that is how it is mentioned. So mrityu, death is with us in the form of this body. Body is that thing, but that is why it mentions here sannihive kale. So Ajay Swamiji, when he said that to him, he was reminding him, look, not that it's going to come later on, it's already there with you in the form of this body. In the form of this body, it is already. All the sciences in this world, which are external, they are based on this mrityu, on this body, isn't it? Every other science what we have developed in this world are centered around this body. And that is why Krishna mentions this in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, as calls it as Ashtada Prakriti. You will see the word there. Bhumi Rapanalo Ayum Khammano Buddhidevaja Ahangariti Yami Bhinna Prakriti Ashtada. Ashtada Prakriti Krishna calls it. Why does he call it Ashtada Prakriti? Because there he mentions the 5 material elements and all of them, our physics, chemistry, biology, all that kind of geography, whatever it is, history, astronomy, anything, whatever you will take it, astrology, all of them, it is covered in that, Ashtada Prakriti. It is all Ashtada Prakriti. Krishna has put them all together in one time, under one title, mentions there, Bhumi, Apam, Anilo, Vayu, Kham, Mano, Buddhi, Evaja, Ahangaram, Iti, Yame, Bhinna, Prakriti, Ashtada, he says. Ashtada Prakriti, he calls it. That is separated from me. Bhinna Prakriti Ashtada. When Krishna says separated from me means that Krishna is the soul and they are separated from the soul. That is how we have to understand that. Soul is Krishna. But when Krishna is saying like that, Bhinna Prakriti Ashtada, we have to understand it that way. Soul is Krishna and they are separated from the soul. They have nothing to do with the soul. Usha, Bhumi, Abam, Analam, Vayu, Kham. The 5 material elements, earth, water, air, ether and fire. Mind, intelligence and false ego. 5 plus 3, 8. All of them together is called Ashtada Prakriti. They are separated from me, Krishna says, from the soul. You know the soul. Bhinna Prakriti Ashtada. In the same chapter you see Apareyam Drasmanyan Prakriti Vidhime Param Jivabhutam Mahabaho Yevam Dharire Jagat. That will come to that later. So here, these 5 material elements, mind, intelligence, false ego, and all of them are dependent based on the Jiva Bhutam. Krishna uses the word Jiva Bhutam, isn't it? Jiva Bhutam Mahabaho Yevam Dharire Jagat. In the Bhagavad Gita you will see these words. Jiva Bhutam. Amai Vamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. Another place. 13th or 14th chapter comes there. So this verse is always a little bit confusing to many people. They'll think that, and it's always used as a explanation to say that living entity is separated from Krishna all the time. But if you look into that from a grammatical point of view, you can also say this. Jiva Bhudam is spoken in this way, that the transformation has become Jiva, the soul which transformed as Jiva. Soul is the same soul everywhere, but the transformation happens, it becomes Jiva. So here also, Aparayam idasvanyam prakriti vidhime param Jiva Bhudam Mahabaho. Jiva Bhudam, Krishna is saying to Arjuna, Mahabaho, he says here that if you take that Jiva Bhudam away, this material elements, mind, intelligence and false ego has no existence. Yeah. Ashtada Prakriti cannot exist if you take Jiva Bhudam away from there. They are dependent. Jiva Bhudam exists, Ashtada Prakriti exists only when Jiva Bhudam is there. When Jiva Bhudam goes away, Ashtada Prakriti cannot exist anymore. That's why. It is the same principle. Once you leave that Tattvam is that Jiva Bhudam. Others have no existence. Therefore, all our Shastram, what we have developed, is based on this Ashtada Prakriti. Is it not? Based on the Ashtada Prakriti. So, but therefore, all Shastram, whatever we have, Ashtada Prakriti, it is within this Ashtada Prakriti. Only different branches of knowledge, what we have developed, physics, chemistry, biology, zoology, or whatever, astronomy, and psychology. Any subject if you take, whatever we are teaching in all universities, all of them are within this Ashtada Prakriti, isn't it? Within this Ashtada Prakriti. So, in the Bhagavatam, when the same thing is spoken, it is spoken in a little different way. Krishna married 8 wives, isn't it? 8 major wives. In the Bhagavatam, you will see there. There, that marriage is this Ashtada Prakriti combining with the soul. That's what it is represented in that way, in that form. Krishna had these 8 wives, we say, starting from Rukmini, Jambavati, Satya, Lakshmana, Bhadra, Nagnaji, Mitravinda, and Satya. Okay. Altogether 8 of them mentions in the 8 wives, Krishna's wives. So all these 8 wives are based on this Ashtada Prakriti's connection with Krishna, the soul. That is what it's referring to. So, but when we talk about in the story form, all these 8 names are given there. So, so all these 8 Ashtada Prakriti are Krishna's wives. Krishna's wives. So, and Jiva Bhudam Mahabaho Edam Dharine Jagat. And Krishna is standing there as Jiva Bhudam there. Krishna, who has become Jiva Bhudam, is standing there in the middle of this Ashtada Prakriti. In the middle of the Ashtada Prakriti. So, that Vastu who is standing there as Jiva Bhudam is Krishna himself. So, that Purna Vastu, what is referred to as Purushottama, in the Bhagavad Gita that word is used as Purushottama. He has dressed up as Jiva Bhudam, he has in that dress and he is standing there at that time in the middle of this Ashtada Prakriti. So you can see what is spoken in the Bhagavad Gita as a principle is demonstrated through this relationship with Krishna and the Ashtada Prakriti, all the material elements, everything together in the Bhagavatam, so that at least you will remember Krishna had 8 wives. But if you tell someone there are 8 elements, 5 material elements, mind, intelligence and false ego in the Ashtada Prakriti and in the Abhara Prakriti, people won't remember that. But if everybody will tell you Krishna had 8 wives. Then they will also know that they married 16,100 wives later. Even if you ask people from people who are very critical of Krishna, they will bring this argument. Krishna married 8 wives. So why not the people who are supporting their argument? That many wives they will argue in favor of this. Say, your Krishna had 16,000 wives or 8 wives, so why can't I have few wives? That's what their argument is about that. So they will remember that. But if you ask them about this, what Bhagavad Gita is saying, that this 5 material elements, mind, intelligence and false ego, which is in the Ashtara Prakriti, that Ashtara Prakriti, within that Ashtara Prakriti, Krishna is standing there inside that as Jiva Bhudam, in the form of the soul, as the living entity comes there. That is that soul which is Krishna is present. That is that connection between the Ashtara Prakriti, and that is why that 7th chapter is important, because Krishna's householder life is what is spoken there through this Ashtara Prakriti and the Jiva Bhudam state. Jiva Bhudam Mahabaho Enam Dharine Jagat. So, and this activities between the Jiva Bhudam and the Ashtara Prakriti is the pastimes between Krishna and the wife. It's the pastimes between Krishna and the wife. So, this will come in different numbers. 16,000, some people say, some say 16,108, 16,008, all kinds of things. Ashtara Prakriti is dependent on Jiva Bhudam. Ashtara Prakriti is dependent on Jiva Bhudam. Mind, intelligence, false ego, and the gross material body, their existence is dependent on the soul inside, which is the Jiva Bhudam. And all these Shastram, what we have developed in this world, is centered around the Jadam, dead matter. It was centered around the Ashtara Prakriti. And because it does not touch the Chaitanya of the living force inside, everything, all knowledge what we have developed is incomplete. And that is why, because it is like that, because it is incomplete, when death comes, none of them will be of any use to us. It won't be any help to us. Because the science, the Shastra, what we have developed is centered around the Ashtara Prakriti. And the very nature of this Ashtara Prakriti is like this. Ashtara Prakriti is dependent on the Chaitanya inside, the living force inside. And only in the presence of the living force, Ashtara Prakriti has any meaning. It cannot exist otherwise. All the science what we have created in this world is centered around this Ashtara Prakriti. And that is the reason, when death comes, none of these science is able to help us to escape from the death. Because of this reason only. So, in the Chandrasekhara Bharati's one statement is Sarvam Vyartham Marana Samaye Krishna Eva Sahaya. There is no other way you can find any shelter. Sarvam Vyartham, everything is waste of time. Marana Samaye, at the time of death, Krishna Eva Sahaya. Only Krishna is the shelter. That is, those who have realized the truth, they will speak in that way. They have to speak in that. That is their understanding. They have come to understand that so-called advanced in knowledge, what we have spent years and years researching and studying and running all these universities to develop some knowledge out of it. None of them is any help at the time of death. Is it not? None of them is of any help to us at the time of death. We have to hand over this body back to the source where it came from. So that is why they are saying Sarvam Vyartham, everything is a waste of time. Marana Samaye, at the time of death, Krishna Eva Sahaya. Krishna alone is the shelter. So, therefore, this spiritual knowledge is so important. Ajay Swami says to him, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja, Mudha Magay, he says, addressing him as Mudha. 11-year-old child calling 80-year-old person Mudha. How will he like it? That it's not easy to digest, isn't it? So, anyway, he says to him, so every verse here you will see like this. You can study, you can receive anything in this world, you can study anything you like, and you may make so many CDs from that. You may develop some technology or so many other things may come out of that. Those things will come and go. Like many things are developed over some period of time, isn't it? Now we have development of the technology to such extent that people are able to fly from one end to another. People have got this mobile phones, television, and so many things, iPod, iPad, iPhone, this, iPad. So many things like that. Technology is continuously developing one way or the other. But at the time of death, will any of them, iPod will help you or iPad will help you? Nothing will help you. Is it not? At the time of death, why? Because all this knowledge is centered around Jada Prakriti, and nothing to do with Chaitanya. Nothing to do with Chaitanya, the living force within, Krishna within, no connection with that. Everything is centered around this Ashtada Prakriti. Therefore, that's all useless. It cannot give any shelter. That's why he mentions there, Samprate Sanihide Kale Nahi Nahi Rakshadi Dukkami Karane. So, who is here? Govinda, he says there is Vajagovindam, Govindam. Govindam is nothing but the soul inside. Govinda is the soul inside. In a devotee's language, when we say surrendering to Krishna and becoming a devotee, in Jnani's language, realizing the self, in other words. In reality, it means the same. Practically, it means the same. If you take the shelter of Krishna inside the heart, the soul, it is as much as surrendering to Krishna. As a devotee's language, spoken in that way as surrender to Krishna. So, in the word Govinda, there is the explanation to that in the 1000 names of Vishnu. 1000 names of Vishnu, Govinda comes there. So, in the Bhashyan commentary on that, the Bhashyan is spoken about this word Govinda. How it is explained like that is that thing what is to be known by the great words of the Upanishads, Mahavakyam, Aham Brahmasmi, Tatvamasi, Prajnanam Brahma, I am Atman Brahma. These are the Mahavakyams. By those Mahavakyams, what has to be known, that truth, that is what is known as Govinda. That is what is Govinda. So, anything that is to be known from outside, anything that is known from outside us, outside means outside this body, from the world or from this body one, all those things is meant to be left here, isn't it? See, the difference between the word Govinda and other names are, Govinda refers to this, that the truth, what is our pure identity, Nitya Shuddha Uttamatta Swaruvam, pure identity of the soul, that is what is referred to as Govinda, Vajagovindam, Govindam. And that truth is not outside, it is very much inside. Any truth that is known from outside is of no use, because they will also have to be left one day equally. So, anything, this is another important thing. Any sadhana or any spiritual activity which you perform based on your intelligence and mind will leave you when you lose your mind and intelligence. Think about this. Some people do a lot of sadhana, isn't it? Thinking that sadhana is going to come for the help. But spiritual life also is like this, that you do a lot of sadhana, but sadhana is done through the mind and intelligence. You have made a decision, intelligent decision to do sadhana, a lot of sadhana. And your mind also, you have made an agreement with the mind to help you to do the sadhana. It is possible that majority of the cases, when people leave the body, by then they lose their mind and intelligence. Mind and intelligence first leaves them. You won't have a mind, by then mind is already gone. Gone in the sense that intelligence, there is no intelligent decision at the time of death, is there? To analyze everything, to weigh the pros and cons, and to make an intelligent decision is not possible at the time of death. Because, as Krishna says, that these things called intelligence, memory and mind, all these things has come from the soul. So before we depart from this body, it is quite possible that rarely any, if any, have that full consciousness to make that infuse the mind and intelligence at the time of death. They will already go. Once they have gone, your sadhana is also finished there. Krishna is saying, Yamyam Bhavis Paran Bhavam Tejatyande Kalevara. So for example, from Bhagavad Gita you have understood that at the time of death, whatever you do, whatever dhyana, meditation happens inside, Smaranam means that, not just remembering like in the mind. That's not what it meant. That MM Bobby Smaranam, that Smarana, what it means. We will discuss that when we discuss 8th chapter in detail. Smaranam means what dhyana comes inside, that is what it is. Not that on your own you remember something. That's not Smaranam means. Normally when we say Smaranam means memory, that's a translation for Smaranam, isn't it? If you look into that verse, what is that verse? From me comes knowledge, forgetfulness. Knowledge, forgetfulness and memory. All that. Sarvasya jaham hridi sannivishtaha matas mridir jnanam apohanancha vedaischa sarver ahameva vedyo vedavandakrit vedavid evachaham. That is the verse there. Later on it comes. You will see their word smriti. From smriti comes smarana. Now that smriti, what is used there, most of the people have understood like this. You ask anyone, you can see what their understanding is. Smriti means that I try to remember that at the time of death. You can't remember anything at the time of death because your memory itself is gone away. What will you remember? Do you understand that difference? There is a subtle difference there. What that smriti means is, at the time of death, not on your own what you are remembering, whatever thoughts that's coming through at that point in you, that is that smriti, that's smarana. Andakaleja mameva smaran tyaktva kalayvaram yaprayadi samadbhavam yadinastyatra samshaya. One verse. Yamyam bhavi smaran bhavam. That word smarana, you have to understand in this way only. Please do not think that it is something that you can do it because you are thinking, now I got the memory now. I'll have that memory at the time of death and I'll remember to chant the holy name and now I'll be busy with my other business in this world. But death does not happen that way. When death comes, first all these things go. Different windows, isn't it? In the body, different functions. One after the other, so many functions stop functioning. Then eventually, Jiva goes, leaves the body. So, when those things are happening, you are helpless. Where will your memory be? Where will your... so, all the sadhana what you are doing today is based on that memory only. You are remembering that, Shastram is telling us, based on this memory, I am doing this sadhana. I am doing a particular sadhana, chanting the holy name or deity worship or anything for that matter. It's all dependent on the strength of that smarana inside. At the moment, your jiva, false ego, has that memory to able to use that memory. But at the time of death, that won't be there. That department will be closed down before you leave the body. Intelligence department also closed down. Mind department also closed down. Memory department also closed down. So what will you remember? You are thinking now that I'll remember about Krishna. Even if others come and try to remind you, you may not remember. You may not be able to take to it because mind is gone by then. What will you do? The people have all this understanding that if I go to Vrindavan, everything will be sorted out there. If I have a flat there and all sitting around by all the devotees on, they will all be there, but they won't have any impact on you at that time because your mind is gone. Only the mind is there, you can reciprocate with what they are saying to you. Or if you have the intelligence to accept what they are saying. Or if you have the memory of the holy name. Even the holy name you may not remember at that time. Because those departments get shut down first before the gross body goes away. This is the difficulty. That is why that word smarana in that chapter, 2 places Krishna uses that word. Yam yam vavi smaran bhavam tejatyante kalevaram tantham evaiti kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavida. 1. Yam yam vavi smaran bhavam, Krishna says. Smarana with the bhava. Bhava means in that meditation. If you very critically study that, this will all make sense also. It's not a very difficult thing. Only thing you have to analyze it, break up everything. What happens at the time of death? Most of the people think, oh, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, all you have to do is to remember him and you're going back from that to God. Very simple, isn't it? It's not so simple as we make of it. Yamyam vavis param bhavam tijil jande kalevaram. Tamdham eveti kaundeya sada tambhavam. Bhavam is important at that time. And bhavam will depend on the dhyanam inside, what you are meditating upon. What thoughts are coming and influencing you at that time, that will be your bhavam. Which means that is your dhyanam inside. The meditation of what is happening at that time inside. That is not in your control. That's what Krishna is saying there. That mind, intelligence, all these things, that anything what you do in this world, bhajanam, kirtanam, any kind of sadhana, jaman, all these things are dependent on the mind and intelligence. Dependent on the mind and intelligence. So, all your spiritual activities also will go along with the body. But, even though it's all like that, there is one thing that can never go from you. What is that? Bodham. That awareness of your own existence, that never leaves. Even while leaving the body, you are thinking, I am going somewhere. That I am aham. That is the one which still remains. Not the sadhana, not the bhajans, what you have done, not other things what you have done. It's not there with you. So, that is why he mentions there that bhaja govindam, govindam bhaja muthamate. Hold on to the soul, not to the body, not to the mind, not to the intelligence, not to the ego. That Govinda inside, that is the only reality. Everything else is false. You can't hold on to anything else, it will all end up in distress at the time of death. Now that the old man has to go, is so old that he has to leave this world, this Dukril Karane is not going to hell. All these things are implied in that verse. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudhamade, Samprapte Sanmihide Kale, Nahi Nahi Rakshadi Dukram Karane. Ajay Swami spoke this first verse to him, and normally all his literary work, major work, what he has done, follows under three categories. One thing, he has got his extensive commentary on all the Upanishads. He is the one who first started writing commentaries on Upanishads. The first major 10 commentaries he took, Ishopanishad, Isham, Kainam, Katham, Prasnam, Undam, Mandukya, Taitiri, Chandokyam, Aitarayam, Vridaranyam. 10 major Upanishads he picked up and wrote his extensive commentaries on that. Then he wrote his commentary on all this was done in Benares. In Kashi, this was done. Then he wrote his commentary on the Brahmasutram and finally on Bhagavad Gita. So, Bhagavad Gita, Brahmasutram and this major 10 Upanishads. So, he established the first system, what is known as Prasthanatrayam. If you can see this, that Prasthanatrayam is the process in the Sanatana Dharma. Since then, all other acharyas who followed him, they had to follow him, what he established that system. His system was Bhagavad Gita, Brahmasutram, major 10 Upanishads. That is the authority. All knowledge, if it is not in agreement with this, no matter if Krishna comes and says, it's not acceptable. Krishna of course won't say that, but it's come from Krishna, so it's no question of... But the knowledge is given as the authority, not the person. Not the person. That is why in his own commentary he mentions there that Kapila Maharshi Sankhya is famous. But Sankhya, Nyayam, Yogam, Vaisheshiyam, Purvamimamsa, Uttaramimamsa, these are all the Shad Darshanam they call it, the 6 branches from the Vedams, they have all come. All of them, fine. But he says, even if Kapila Maharshi comes and says something which is not in agreement with these 3, Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, Brahmasutram, that's not acceptable. We pay our obeisances to him, but we can't agree with that. That is how it is established, the truth is spoken in that way. That is how strong the authority of the Upanishads and the Brahmasutram and Bhagavad Gita is. So here, you will see here, why did he write like that? He wrote commentaries on all this, and then he also wrote about what is known as Sanal Sujadiyam. Sanal Sujadiyam is the conversation between Sanatkumara Maharshi and Dhritarashtra. You know, Dhritarashtra used to have a lot of people coming to his palace to talk to him. And many people, but nothing happened. Spoke a lot, but nothing happened. So once Sanal Sujata Maharshi came to see Dhritarashtra. and there is a discussion between Dhritarashtra and Sanal Sujata Maharshi. It is called Sanal Sujadiyam. It is in the Mahabharata, it comes. Acharya Swamiji wrote a commentary on that as well. So all these were written only for the benefit of the scholars, highly learned people. One who has got good sound knowledge, who can think and reflect on all these things very well, and to get clarity inside. That's why those bhashyams were written. Those bhashyams were written only for their benefit. That people are very thoughtful, very intelligent, and who have that good spiritual inquiry power inside, for their benefit, it was written like that. And then, so it is they who utilize those literature. It's those who utilize that literature. For them it is beneficial. Then after that, this is one set of writings he decided to keep as the authority of the Shastra. Authority of the Shastra. Afterwards, independently he wrote what is known as Prakarana Grantha, which are many. There are many Prakarana Granthas. What he has done that, the same message, what is in the commentary, in the Bhashya, he has changed it very well, and in his own language he has presented that. Whereas if you look into the Bhagavad Gita commentary, Upanishad's commentary and all that, it's completely the knowledge of the Shastra only present that is there. There is no other language used there. Only the knowledge of the Shastra. The language also is very much centered around the knowledge of the Shastra. Shastric words only used there. But when it came to Prakarana Grantham, which is like Viveka Chudamani, Upadesha Sahasri, Tattva Bodham, there are many like that. So many books. And in all of them, he has same knowledge from the Upanishads he has taken it and churned it very well, and in his own language he has presented it in a proper way, easier for others to understand. But what is interesting in all these things is, nowhere he mentions about himself, that it is my opinion or my everything completely centered around the authority of the Shastra. So in Bhashyam also, in the Prakarana Grantham also, you will see Upanishads are reviewed regularly, continuously it is reviewed, and it always says that this Upanishad says like this, that Upanishad says like this, Brihadaranyaka says like this, Chandogya says like this, it's like this, he will quote like that. And Veda says like this, and in nowhere, none of the Prakarana Grantham anywhere, he talks about himself, anything. He doesn't mention anything about himself. Everywhere, very rarely, only in Manisha Manjagam, he will say one place, Esha Manisha Mama. This is my opinion. He will say like that. In one place he mentions like that. Otherwise, it is totally unusual for him to make his own opinion anywhere. So, and when he says Esha Manisha Mama means this is my firm conclusion about it. He says like that. So Prakarana Grantham and then the Vedanta Shastram, that how to realize the truth, how to realize the soul. And for that purpose he wrote all the other Prakarana Grantham like Viveka Chudamani, Alpa Bhodam, Upadesha Sahasri, Vedanta Kesari, like that so many Prakarana Granthams are available. So, idea behind that is that those who are coming to this spiritual life first time, in order to make their life easier, more detailed way, he has spoken through this literature. And that is what that means. It's also for those who are serious only about spiritual life. Not for everyone on the street. They won't be able to study that. Only those who are serious, for them to make life a little easier, he wrote what is called as Prakarana Grantham. So, first, Upanishads commentary, Brahma Sutram, Bhagavad Gita. All three. Major 10 Upanishads, Brahma Sutram, Bhagavad Gita, their commentary Bhashya. That's the first level. Second level, to help the same knowledge in the Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita and Brahma Sutram, churned very well and put it in a way easier to understand, which was put through other literature, what is known as Prakarana Grantham, like Viveka Chudamani, Upadesha Sahasri, Alpa Bhodam, Vedanta Kesari, and so on and so forth. So many Prakarana Granthams he wrote, and through that made it a little bit more easier for those who wants to know the truth, who wants to realize the truth through the process of Vedic process. He created in that way. After that, what did he do? He wrote what is known as Stotra. Stotra means glorifications. Glorifications of different deities. And in that way, he mentioned about so many stotras he has written pertaining to Vishnu, Ramachandra, Krishna, Shiva, and many other deities. Glorifying all of them, he compiled many famous stotrams. So, out of that, two of them, Saundarya Lahari and Shivananda Lahari, both have got 100 verses in there. And they are both very advanced knowledge also in them. But compared to them, Saundarya Lahari is more difficult compared to Shivananda Lahari. So, the interesting thing here is that normally Stotra Grantham means the Stotra what he wrote, most of them are, the Stotrams what he has written, are easy to understand. We have presented with the form of the deity. In relationship with the truth it is spoken. Deities' pastimes are spoken in that form of worship. So many things mentioned in that stotrams you will see there. We can see so many stotrams mentioned. Govindashtakam is there. 8 verses refer to Govinda. Yamuna river, there is 8 verses, Yamunashtakam. Ganga river, 8 verses about Ganga, Gangashtakam. Narmada river, 8 verses on Narmada, Narmadashtakam. Then we have got 8 verses which we sing, you will hear them for a theatre devotees singing Jagannathashtakam. 8 verses on Jagannath. Then, like Govindashtakam, Jagannashtakam. Then there is about Mukundashtakam, 8 verses on that. Then he has also written about the commentary on Vishnu Sahasranam of the names of Vishnu and commentary on that. And similarly, there are about Panduranga Ashtakam. There is 8 verses on the deity in Pandharpur. That Panduranga Ashtakam he wrote about that. And similarly, Ranganath Ashtakam is there, 8 verses on Ranganath. So like this, he compiled so many Ashtakam or 8 verses referring to various deities in various places, in various temples also. So, all those Ashtakams or 8 verses what they wrote, you will see the beauty of the language and the contents also very touching way he wrote about them in such a way that you will experience every devotee who follows, studies those stotram, you will find that very illuminating. Right? Illuminating. For example, there's a famous temple called Mallikarjuna Temple, Mallikarjuna Swami. Shiva is the deity there. This Mallikarjuna Temple, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visits on his way to South India. When he was traveling, if you remember, if you look into Chaitanya Charitamrita, you will see he goes and pays his respects to Mallikarjuna Swami there. Lord Shiva there is Mallikarjuna, famous temple. Very famous temple. Lord Shiva's famous temple. So, Mallikarjuna Swami's temple, Acharya Swamiji wrote this famous book called Shivananda Lahari. Shivananda Lahari was written in that book. Now, this must have happened over 2000 years, something like that, way back. And how do we know? Because if you look into Shivananda Lahari, you will see that this is compiled in Mallikarjuna Swami's presence, he says. Right in Mallikarjuna Swami temple, Mallikarjuna Swami Kshetra, that is where it was mentioned there. He says it is in a place called Sri Shailam. You will see the name of the place is Sri Shailam and the temple is Mallikarjuna. So, Shivananda Lahari was written there and it mentions there, if you look into Shivananda Lahari, you will see in the 50th verse he says there that the Sandhyaramba Vijaram Shudishira Stananda Adhishidam Suprema Brahma Brahmhidam Asakans Sadvasanam Shodhidam Bhogindra Samasta Smaha Pujyam Gunavishkritam Seve Srigiri Mallikarjuna Mahalingam Shivalingidam. Referring to Mallikarjuna there in that verse. That Seve Srigiri Mallikarjuna Mahalingam Shivalingidam. That is how he mentions that. That is how we understand from that. There is another verse also there which mentions that it was written addressing that Shiva at Mallikarjuna, as Mallikarjuna in that temple. Similarly, Saundarya Lahari also is very famous. Saundarya Lahari is very famous. Shivananda Lahari, more than Shivananda Lahari, Saundarya Lahari became more famous. Because Saundarya Lahari, very difficult to understand, but very nice to hear. The rhythmic way, that compilation of the Shivananda Lahari. The Saundarya Lahari. But Shivananda Lahari is more beautiful in the Bhakti saying. Saundarya Lahari has got two parts of it. One part is referring to the beauty of Sri Bhagavati, and the other part refers to the mantra side of it, of realizing that aspect of it. So, it is easier than Saundarya Lahari to understand. Shivananda Lahari is easier to understand. And for many people, Saundarya Lahari is a very deep-rooted science of the Tantra Shastra, Tantra Vidya. You know Tantra Vidya, Tantriyam. Deity worship has got three aspects: Vaidikam, Tantriyam, Mishra. Tantriya Vidhi also comes from the sages. Tantriya Vidhi. In many temples they follow Tantriyam, and many temples, some people follow Mishra, mixture of both, Vaidikam and Tantriyam. Majority of the temples is a mixture of both, Vaidikam and Tantriyam. Vaidikam is based on mantra. Tantriyam is based on tantra. That's the difference. Or a mixture of both. Anyway, here, those 100 verses, and similarly, Saundarya Lahari, part of it is called Ananda Lahari also. In other words, after all these things, then he wrote what is known as Bhujanga Prayada Stotra. Bhujanga Prayada means addressing Ramachandra, Sri Rama Bhujanga. It is called Sri Rama Bhujanga Prayada. So, in all these literature, you will see the capacity to write such excellent Sanskrit poetry and so beautifully compiled that Bhujanga Prayadam, he says, like Bhujanga means a snake. How a snake flows, in that way the poetry also flows. Poetry also flows. So even if you have not understood the meaning of the verses, by simply listening to those verses itself, it gives you one amazing experience from that. So here you will see there that when you recite those verses from Shivananda Lahari or Saundarya Lahari, you will experience a taste of that after listening it for some time. So here in this, he says here that the first verses he said, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Modhade, Samprapte Sanjive Kare, Nahi Rakshari Dukranjakarane. So he told him to stop chanting this Dukranjakarane. It is no use. And then he told him, Modhajahi Danagama Trishnam, Kurusal Bhukti Manasi Trishnam, Yellatase Nija Karmopatam, Vittam Tena Vinodaya Chittam. So there, Modhajahi Dhanagama Trishnam. In this book, as we mentioned, the Jagavindam prayers specifically wrote to create vairagyam inside, detachment from this world. Without that detachment, it is not possible to understand the truth, to realize the truth. While totally attached to this world, enjoying life here, in this world, it's very difficult to develop spiritually, isn't it? It's not very difficult to understand that. When we are so absorbed in the world, with all other matters of this business in this world, then spiritual life becomes very difficult. Very, very difficult. That's why he mentions there that in all these verses, you can see the sweetness of the sound, even while addressing different deities. Like for example, while addressing Ramachandra, the way the verses, he mentions there that Vishuddham Varam Satchidananda Rupam Gunadharam Adharahinam Varenyam Mahandam Vibhandam Guhandam Gunandham Sukhandam Swayam Dhama Ramam Prapadye. That's the first verse in the Rama Bhujanga. It says, Vishuddham. One thing you will notice, in all prayers addressed to all the different deities, whether it is Govindashtakam or whether it is Sri Rama Bhujangam, everywhere, the first addressing the deity is always in relationship as the truth. As the truth. Vishuddham Haram Sachidananda Rupam Gunadharam Adharahinam Varenyam Mahandam Vibhandam Gunandam Guhandam Gunandam Sukhandam Swayam Dhamaramam Prapadye. The whole Upanishad's knowledge he condenses into all these words in the Shastra. In other words, whatever he is going to present that deity in that particular prayers is the summary of the Upanishads, connects with the Upanishads first. Upanishads knowledge is the truth. And so that truth is this deity. Whether it is Krishna or Ramachandra or other forms, also Shiva, in all forms, it is connected with the Upanishads deity as there. So then continues after that about the other aspects of the deity. So here you can see that so here Brahma Vidya, or the knowledge of the soul, or the knowledge of the soul, Atma Tattvam, that is he introduced first in the Rama Bhujangam also, in the Prayada Stotra. Where you find very minimum of that is in the Shivananda Lahiri also. Shivananda Lahiri does not discuss too much about the philosophical side of it. It's purely a devotional creation, devotional composition. Shivananda Lahiri is. So, but now and then you will see here that the Vedanta philosophy also introduced in that way. So after compiling all these different stotra grantham, different compositions of this stotra, he compiled what is known as Dakshinamurti stotra. Now, there is a problem. This Dakshinamurti stotra, very difficult, extremely difficult to understand, unless it is explained in such a length. It is such a composition of so much knowledge of the Upanishads, so condensed and so beautifully composed, that unless it is explained, we will not understand what this Dakshinamurti, although it is a stotram, which comes in the category of all the other Ashtagam, like Jannada Ashtagam, Mukunda Ashtagam, Govinda Ashtagam. It is in that category. The knowledge in that knowledge in the Dakshinamurti Stotram is very, very high. Many people find it very hard to understand. So therefore, because of that, many acharyas have written commentary on that. And even after people could not understand that, so others have come and written commentary on that commentary again, to make it a little bit more easier to capture the message there. So, Dakshinamurti Stotram, even Brahma Sutra, you may, if you put a lot of effort, you may be able to understand what he wrote about the Brahma Sutra. And Upanishad Bhashyam also, you may be able to understand if you read many times, hear from others also. Similarly with Bhagavad Gita also. But even Shivananda Lahiri or the other Prakarana Grantham, like Viveka Chudamani and all that, and even if you have studied all of them, when you come to Dakshinamurti Stotram, you are stuck. You can't go further in that. It's so difficult. Dakshinamurti Stotram is so difficult. It's got, by name, it is Dakshinamurti Stotram. It is a Stotram. But in the message, it is a lot more deeper than the Upanishads or even Brahma Sutra, for that way. So, begins with that Vishwam Darpana Drishyamana Nagari. The first verse in the Dakshinamurti Stotram is like that. Vishwam Darpana Drishyamana Nagari. This principle what he spoke there, today science is slowly coming to that same understanding. What they are saying is that what you see in this world is what is inside you. That's what it is. Vishwam, the world, is a reflection of you. World is a reflection of you. What you have inside, see, we all see this world, we all see in different ways, isn't it? The object is the same, but the perception is different in different people. Every one of us. Something we say, somebody says nice, somebody says it's not nice. Someone says it is ugly, somebody says no, it's not ugly, it's beautiful. Like the modern art. So modern art, somebody says it's very beautiful. For somebody who doesn't know anything about that art, for him it's very ugly. Some colors here and there thrown away. That. So everything in this world, we have different impressions. Why is it like that? Vishwam Darpana Drishyamana Nagari. That world, what you see, is not that what is inside you is what you are seeing in the world. This is a statement in the beginning of the Dakshinamurti Ashtakam taken from the Upanishads. But science is also now saying, in some of the modern research, they are also saying this, that there is a difference in what we perceive in this world. They start recognizing like that. Because normally, the science is centered around the matter. It presents to us in that way, isn't it? And whatever they define, that we accept as the science and authority, which is again subject to change. So that is why Acharya Swamiji's first disciple, Sureshwara Acharya wrote a famous commentary on that Dakshinamurti Stotra. Only. It's only 8 or 10 verses, and he wrote a commentary on that, and that is called Vatiyam. Vatiyam it is called. Sureshwara Acharya was the personality who was installed in Sringeri as the first Acharya, and that much still continues. Sringeri Math comes from there. So, although it's a Stotra Granth, there's 10 verses in the Dakshinamurti Stotram. Dakshinamurti, while paying obeisances to Dakshinamurti, at the same time, he completely packed with Brahmavidya, the knowledge of Brahma, knowledge of the soul. Although at the end, it all finishes with paying obeisances to Dakshinamurti Shiva. The whole verses are packed with spiritual knowledge, knowledge of the soul. Patana, Shravana, it makes sense there. So, we'll stop for a few minutes. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So many stotrams what he has compiled, Shankaracharya has compiled, many of them, and Bhajagovindam belongs to one of the stotrams. Bhajagovindam belongs to one of the stotrams. So first there is the top tier, Upanishads, Brahma Sutra, Bhagavad Gita, one tier. Secondly, all the Prakarana Grantha, like Viveka Chudamani, Upadesha Sahasri, Tattvabodham, Vedanta Kesari, and so many others also. We see a number of them, 28 or 30 books separated. Same knowledge in the Upanishads explained in little bit more easier to understand through the Prakarana Grantha. Then after that, for ordinary people who does not have any serious spiritual life, who finds it, who are busy with the world, in other words, for them the stotrams were compiled, just to recite them and feel the spiritual benefit from that. That is how all the other stotrams have come, like Jananashtakam, Vimanashtakam, Govindashtakam, Ramavijangam, and there's quite a lot of them, hundreds of them, you will see them mentioned there. So for Bhajagovindam, there is one famous commentary called Swayam Prakashayati. His commentary on Bhajagovindam is famous. Bhajagovindam itself is not a very complex book because the language is simple compared to all other. You will see Bhajagovindam alone, the language is particularly very simple, easy to understand. An ordinary person can easily follow that. And for inside that still on Bhajagovindam there is a famous commentary on Swayam Prakashayati. He wrote a famous commentary on that. And mainly he has explained that from the viewpoint of Vairagya. Vairagya Prakarana Grantha, it's called. To generate Vairagyam in a person. Remember why Vairagyam is important, isn't it? We talked about that before, although it hasn't come to us yet. But Vairagyam is necessary because any spiritual knowledge, if it has to take firm root in a person, it has to get deep rooted. Now what's happening is we hear things, it goes to the mind and intelligence and it goes. It hasn't had any impact on us. It will only impact us if there is Vairagyam in a person. That is the nature of the Brahmavidya. Spiritual knowledge is like that. If it has to take its root, if it has to get rooted inside, Vairagyam is a must. That's why you will see in the Bhagavatam, what do they say? Bhakti Jnana Viragatham. Bhakti, two children, Jnana and Vairagyam. Jnana Vairagyam Bhakti can only stay if there is Jnana and Vairagyam. Otherwise Bhakti cannot stay. Whatever drama we can do in this world, it won't be there till Jnana Vairagyam becomes strong in a person. That is how Bhagavatam mentions that. I think it is in the first canto itself. Sudha Goswami mentions this. If you look, you will see in Bhagavatam, in the first canto, second chapter, what he mentions there is how they all go together. You can never separate Vairagyam from spiritual life. So there he mentions that seventh verse, second chapter. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayochidam Janayatyashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayadahayugam. Says that, isn't it? Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayochidam. Bhakti Yoga, what will it do? Bhakti Yoga will create bhakti towards Vasudeva. What else it will do? Janayati Ashu Vairagyam and Jnanam Chayadahayugam, it says there. Jnanam and Vairagyam will happen to that person, one who has got bhakti towards Vasudeva, Krishna. That is all it is. Also, second chapter in the first canto itself begins with this statement. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayochida Janayati Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Cha Yadahayugam, he says there. So, Jnana Vairagyam and Bhakti, Jnana Vairagyam and Bhakti, they go together. So, it is not possible to separate Vairagyam. And various glorifications in the Bhagavatam, if you observe, you will see some of them are exclusively to create Vairagyam in a person. If you look into Rishabhadeva's glorifications, there, instructions to his children, isn't it? Very famous verses. Nayam Deho Deha Vajam Naloke, beginning with that verse. There's about 50 or 60 verses. All that 60 verses is centered around Vairagyam. So similarly, in this Bhajagovindam prayers also, is spoken purely to create Vairagyam in a person. Normally, so this Prakarana Grantham, all the Prakarana Grantham, all other Prakarana Grantham is talking about the knowledge of the soul, Alpavidya, Brahmavidya. That's what is discussed in that. So normally there are two kinds of people in this world. If you observe, you will notice this. We have what we call as Chittam inside, isn't it? Chittam means we have subtle body comprising four things: mind, intelligence, ego, false ego, and then the fourth one is Chittam. Chittam is this, that according to our vasanas inside, what we have created. Actually it is all one, but known based on the functions. It's known in four different ways. So mind is busy with sankalpa vikalpa. That's what the mind does. Intelligence, sankalpa vikalpa means it brings the thoughts, pros and cons, and brings all kinds of thoughts inside, and it keeps flowing like that all the time. From there, intelligence picks one from that, and which is called Vishayagniya Buddhi. Buddhi makes the decision from that, takes one and makes the decision. That the Buddhi does that. False ego, you know what it does? False ego is what makes us always think, I'm doing this, I've done that, I'll be doing this in the future. Me, I am. That is what this Ahangaram does. It's a Kartrutva Buddhi. And then the fourth one is Chittam. What does Chittam does? What Chittam does is, so many vasanas what we have accumulated in so many lifetimes, they are ready for manifesting outside. And in that Chittam, these vasanas are flowing in a fluid way. It is permanently present there in that Chittam. It is from the Chittam. Chittam is what requires purification. It is in Chittam that all our vasanas that we have created in previous lifetimes and even in this lifetime, it all gets constantly stored. Storage is in that Chittam. So Chittam is related with Vasana. Vasana is related to Chittam. So there are two kinds of people in this world. One whose Chittam is very disturbed and others whose Chittam is very stable, very peaceful. For example, those whose Chittam is very disturbed, in their mind there are so many kinds of imaginations, so many thoughts will be coming to them, and for them to listen to anything is very, very difficult. They are so disturbed inside because of this powerful thought waves coming through. They are finding it difficult to sit and listen to something related to soul. Very difficult to relate to the soul. You tell them Vedantam and all that, nothing will go inside. Vedantam and all will not work inside. Because by nature, their situation is such that mind is continuously going everywhere, unable to bring it back, into no control over the mind. If you talk to them about the soul or the principle of the soul, Alpadattvam, they will not be able to hear that. They will not be able to hear properly. Because they may sit there saying that they are hearing, but their mind will be somewhere else. Mind will be somewhere else. Mind will constantly give them, mind will be making a world tour somewhere else. It will be traveling all the time, although they will be physically present here. Nothing will go in. And it will not even go into the ear. What to talk about going into the heart. It won't even get in here, although they will be here, but it won't go in because of the Chittam is like that. The Chittam is so disturbed in that way. That's one group. That's called Vyagula Chittam. It is called Vyagula. Vyagula means constant turbulence inside. Then there is Avyagula Chittam. Avyagula Chittam means that for them mind is already in a peaceful state. Completely in a peaceful state. Shanti is there in them, and not only that, due to continuously chanting the Japam, chanting the holy name, and also chanting their Gayatri, and also due to discipline in their life, in their eating habits, sleeping habits, association with the world, all in a restricted and controlled way. By living like that, they have already got a discipline in their life. They got it? Good discipline has come to them already. So therefore, and it is also possible that their mind is already attracted or attached to some form of Krishna. Some form of Krishna. They are attached to some form of Krishna. When I say some form of Krishna, all the other forms of Krishna also are there in various other forms. Apart from the deity forms what we worship, there are several forms. Form of Shiva, form of Shivavadi, they are all different Krishna's different forms only. And so attachment in some form, whichever they have attracted to, Krishna's some form, they will be attracted already to that form. So that is a different stage altogether in life. Due to disciplined life, control over the mind, control over the body, and freedom from desires, and it's lived in such a way due to executing sadhana properly every day, and not allowing the mind to wander around in unnecessary things in this world, because all this is a requirement for come to this state. They have become so much discipline in their life, they are able, and plus they have attachment to some form of Krishna in somewhere, in some deity. So, like that is their state. So, although they have reached that state, their mind does not wander unnecessarily in various directions. To such persons, if you instruct Brahmavidya, they will catch it straight away. Brahmavidya, they will catch it straight away. They are compared normally to camphor. Camphor is like this, isn't it? You remember we talked about three kinds of people who hear, isn't it? Under the three modes of nature. So, some people are like camphor. Camphor, if you just light it with fire, immediately it burns. Camphor burns, isn't it? So, and just like camphor burns straight away, they are like that. They are ready for it, to receive the message. They are ready for that. And some other people, they will not take it easily. Just like sometimes the wet bark of wet firewood, which is very wet, it will not catch fire, would it? So in the olden days, what they used to do, they will try to dry it as much as possible. Then if it catches fire anywhere, through a pipe they will keep blowing it. And keep on blowing it. It will get dry and it will catch fire. Majority of the people are like that, like this wet firewood. Wet firewood. It is in the Bhagavatam, you will see there. Bhagavatam mentions this, the three kinds of people. And some people will never catch fire. Hopeless situation. For them, nothing to be instructed, nothing to be spoken to them, nothing will work. Because it's so wet. Just like that grass. If you light a matchbox and put it on, what will happen? The match will get extinguished, isn't it? Matches will not burn. Nothing will happen to the grass. Grass will stay as it is. So some people are like that, like grass, wet grass. Nothing can be done. Some people are like a bit wet firewood. They can be helped. Those who are in that state, who are like the wet firewood state, they can change. Because there is a possibility that you can light it. And if you keep on blowing it, one day it will work. And then there are others who will capture the message like this as soon as they hear from the Shastra, because they are already ready to receive it properly. So these three categories of people exist, and that is why it's mentioned there that Krishna says there, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita also that those who are like camphor, as soon as they hear, because the inside is ready to receive the message, that Alma, knowledge of the soul, is important for them, that very quickly they will realize the truth. So once they have heard, they got the truth in them. Once only they have to hear, they have got in them. That is why in the Bhagavatam, if you remember, in the second verse, how Krishna put, Vedavyas puts it is, Dharma projita kailavotta paramo narmatsaranam satam vedyam vastavam atra vastu shivadam tapatrayo nudanam. Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Kimva Pare Ishware Sadyohi Aviruddhidetra Krudabhi Shushrushubhi Talchana. That is referring to that camphor type people. If you are like camphor, Vedavyas is saying there, Sadyohrit Aviruddhidetra Krudabhi. Immediately you will realize Krishna straight away. Shushrushubhi Talchana. Talchana means on the spot. You will get it. You don't have to wait. Because, as we spoken in the beginning, spiritual life is the only thing where you don't have to put any effort. It's not by doing something you get it. It's by not doing you get it. If you do it, you won't get it. Because in the mundane world, all our faith is in that, isn't it? I've done so many things and I got this. I worked hard, I made money. I worked hard, I made myself popular or fame or whatever in this material world, whatever you want to call it. So everything in this world is by working and getting. That's the only thing which doesn't work in the spiritual life. In spiritual life, it is not by doing you get it. Because by not doing, your chittavritti comes down and you are in the shanti state to receive that. So there, that is what Krishna is saying, Vedavyasa is saying there. You have to understand that, because when we read that verses, what will normally happen? Normally we will say, oh, it says immediately it is realized. Why it's not happening to me? You'll ask the question. Everybody will ask that question. Then what will you say? You'll say, oh, Bhagavatam, there's something wrong. It's all something Vedavyasa is writing. I don't think it's practical. Or some comments we'll make and we'll leave Bhagavatam there. But that's not the idea behind it. The reason for that is, you have to see in which context he has spoken that. For people like Camphor, who are ready for the realization, for them, Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krade Kimma Pare Ishvara Sadhyo, Ishvara comes straight away. Sadhyo him Avaruddhyanetra Kradivi. Avaruddhyane means that he walks in straight away into that heart, a person who is so pure inside. Shushrushudi Talshana, he says, immediately it will happen. That means, as soon as you hear, the result is there. As soon as you hear, the result is there. So, and like the camphor thing. The other, we have spoken about the second category, like the wet wood. Wet wood. You keep on blowing it on it. One day it will catch fire. It will catch fire one day. Because if it is not very wet, it will catch fire. If it's not very wet. And some others will never catch fire. Some wood which is very, very wet, or the grass, like the wet grass, it will never catch fire. It will never catch fire. So these three categories are there. So those who come to satsangam are those who are like the firewood. That's also there. Others won't stay. Those who are like a camphor, they won't stay. They'll come. Remember I mentioned that story about that sannyasi he spoke, and that boy who was listening, he was ready for it. As soon as he said that the subject is very vast and the substance is very deep and the topic is very deep, immediately, and the time is too short. As soon as he heard that, he hit him straight away. And he left the scene, and later on he became a very famous. He spent all his time in Himalayas, and he engaged in studying Vedanta and engaged in the Shastra, and he became a famous sannyasi later. Very famous. So like this, it happens like that with some people, but that's very rare, very, very rare cases. But majority of the people who come to satsangam are like this firewood. They can catch fire, but it will take time. It may require a lot of blowing, quite a lot. And some others will never want to come. Reason is grass is very wet. That's the reason. That wet grass, it's very difficult for them. For them, any convincing won't help. That they will not see any necessity. They will think that why waste time doing all these things. In that way, their analysis will be completely different. So, very, very rarely only those like the camphor will catch fire immediately. Because our mind normally is always chapalam, always moving, isn't it? So, that is why in Kathopanishad we know that famous verse, Sharanaya vibhavir senalabdha. All that verse is subject to all these things. When the verse is saying, it is in the Bhagavad Gita also, isn't it? It is in the second chapter, isn't it? Somewhere. Chapter 2?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Kathopanishad. Yeah, no, 10, Kathopanishad. 29?
Yeah.
Chapter 3?
This is the book.
Chapter 29?
29.
Chapter 3?
Chapter 2.
Chapter 2.
Verse 29.
No, it's okay.
It's in the book.
Yeah. Sharanaya Shranayami Bahivir Yona Labhyaha Shranandovi Bahavo Yona Vidyo Ascharya Vakta Kushalosya Ladha Ascharya Jnada Kushalana Shishta. This is only controversial. Shranayami Bahuvir Yona Labhyaha. You heard many times, but you haven't got it. You still haven't got it. So people ask this question after reading this verse, especially the second line. Shrunandovi Bahavo Yona Vidyu. Shrunandovi Bahavo Yona Vidyu. Heard a lot, but nothing has happened. So then they will say, what's the point in hearing? People ask this question always, isn't it? Because they want immediate result now. I've heard it now. It's not happening. So what's the point hearing it? They will ask that question. Shravanayami Bahuvir Yonalabhyaha. So many times you heard, you have not got it. Shrunandovi Bahuvir Yonavidyu. Even if you have heard that, you haven't got it. Even though you have heard it, but you haven't got it. Ashcharyo hi bhakta kushalasya ladhaha. It's always an amazing thing to hear from someone who has got it. There is no doubt about that. If a self-realized soul speaks from the Bhagavad Gita or from the Upanishads, great Mahatmas who have completely realized the truth, when they speak Ashcharya, it is amazing thing, that experience. Ashcharya bhakta kushalosya ladhaha. And when somebody has heard from him, and if he has got it, that is also an amazing thing. Both sides are one. Win-win situation. That's the second. Ashcharya kushalasya ladhaha. Both sides. The speaker has got it, the listener also got it. Isn't it? So Ashcharya kushalasya ladhaha. Ashcharya jnana kushalani shishtaha. And somebody getting it itself is saying Ashcharya. It's an amazing thing. Kushalani shishtaha. And also those who have got it in this way, Kushalana Shishtaha, that Kaushalam in them also to be appreciated. So what it is saying that verse is, when you read that verse, if you take a literal meaning and feel it that it's not worthwhile, it is subject to this understanding, depending on the person who is speaking and depending on the person who is hearing. Both are the qualifications for hearing Upanishads. In other words, the person who is hearing, if it is like camphor, it will be straight away catch fire. If it is like the wet wood, it will take some time. And if it is like the wet grass, it's a hopeless situation. So here also, Shranayami Bahuvir Yona Labhyaha Shrunando Bahavo Yona Vidyu Ashcharya Vakta Kushalasya Ladha and Ashcharya Jnana Kushalana Shishtaha. So, even though people may hear it, that clarity won't come. That is the problem. The clarity won't happen. You will hear and you will understand everything, but the clarity is not getting. Clarity is not coming through. So, everybody hears through the 2 ears only, isn't it? Everyone hears through the 2 ears. So, Acharya also who is speaking also speaks with one mouth. Same sound comes from the Acharya from his mouth and everybody is hearing through the 2 ears. But still, among the people, their realization is different. Alma, the soul inside, the clarity hasn't come. For different people in a different way. Because we are hearing Alma, we are hearing the word about Alma, isn't it? Alma we hear, but we also hear that I'm not this body, I'm not this mind, I'm not this intelligence, all these things. And we say, after rejecting all these things, body, mind, intelligence, ego and everything, what remains, that is the soul. That is how it is discussed, isn't it? The subtlety of the soul. After you have taken out everything, body, mind, intelligence, ego, everything, what remains is the soul. That is how Upanishads teach us about the soul. Neti, neti, not this, not this, not this, isn't it? Mano, buddhi, ahankara, chitta, anaham, mind, intelligence, ego, none of them is me. And none of the five material elements are me. Jagrat, Swapnam, Sushuddhi, state is not me. Nothing is me, nothing is me, nothing is me. After doing all that things, what remains, that's me. That's how it is. Because there is no other way you can explain about that. Nisheta Siddhi, they call it. Nisheta Siddhi means Nisheta process. I mean, denying everything and then coming to the truth, bringing the truth forward. So, the reason is this, that why is it that it's not getting clear to us about the soul? Why that experience, realization of the soul doesn't happen? Because there is what is known as a very strong curtain of tamoguna, ignorance in us. All of us. We have got that deep curtain, very thick, which is covering the soul. So, that is the object. Because how is that tamogunam present in us? Tamogunam present in us in different ways. Attachment to worldly objects. Worldly objects means includes individuals, different things in this world, or attachment. That is the one of the important things. In Krishna uses the word asakti. Remember that word? Asakti is the word Krishna uses. Only if that asakti goes away, this clarity will come with him. Otherwise, he can read Ekadasha Skandha 100 times. But if asakti is strongly there, what Krishna says, you won't get it. You just won't get it. Because asakti, attachment. Asakti is not a word used in spiritual life normally. It is a word used in the mundane language. But Krishna uses the word asakti because we won't understand otherwise. To make us understand, asakti means attachment to anything. Attachment to the house, attachment to the country, attachment to football club, attachment to political party, attachment to wife, children, and so many things in this world, isn't it? Relationships, all this is attachment only. As long as this attachment is there, that is tamoguna. That is tamoguna. And when this tamoguna is strong in a person, even if you struggle very hard throughout life to get the truth, you won't get it. Clarity won't. You will hear it millions of times. You may hear the truth, but it will not have its effect inside. It won't have an impact on us. Because the thicker that curtain is, tamoguna, it will not penetrate through that. Its knowledge of the soul will not penetrate through that. So that is why only if that goes away, that attachment goes away, this knowledge will have its effect. Knowledge is not so complex, but it's not happening to us. In order to do that, vairagyam is necessary. So, vairagyam. So, in order to create this vairagyam, there are two ways of creating this vairagyam. I don't know if you think you will get the answer. I don't have to say this. Vairagyam happens in two different ways. Krishna creates vairagyam in two different ways. One thing, from outside he smashes us. With as much distress as possible, he will give it to you in the world outside. From outside. Inside, through the knowledge, he is educating you all the time. Don't go in that route, you will not get there. So these are the two things. So outside Krishna has to smash us. From inside, Krishna has to pull us towards the soul. There is no other way. All this is necessary. That is why, remember, all great devotees, jnanis and all, if you look into their life very seriously, you will see they have got a lot of hit by so many times from outside. And from inside, Krishna has helped them to pull them towards the inside you have to pull, from outside you have to smash. Only when these two things happen, we are thinking, oh, we'll live as the way we are living now, everything is going very well, family life is good, job is going well, mortgage all paid off, comfortable life, food on time on the table. And I like to have some spiritual life also with that. We'll get that kind of spiritual life, we'll get it. That's all it is. Nothing will happen. It will go on like this for ages after ages. But Vairagyam, why all these things are spoken? Because if you look into Srimad Bhagavatam, it says there, isn't it? That Without that Vairagyam, this knowledge what we get from Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavad, we can study whole of Bhagavad Gita, but nothing will happen. You can chant the holy name for not 24 hours. You can have so many hundreds and thousands of hours. You can keep on chanting, have kirtanam, bhajanam, everything. Nothing will happen because Vairagyam hasn't come. What will happen? What will you do with it? It will remain as a sound vibration only. It cannot have penetration inside. Penetration happens not only to penetrate the spiritual knowledge. That's why in Bhagavatam, Krishna is stressing that Yasyaham anugrihnami harishe tadhanam chane tadodanam bhaktijan yasya swajana dukkha dukkhidaha. Mentions there, isn't it? So any Vedanta Grantham, whether it is Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, anything for that matter, wherever spiritual knowledge and knowledge of the self is discussed, in order that knowledge to manifest in the person, Vairagyam is a must. And that Vairagyam to happen, there's only two ways. From outside, Krishna has to kick us a lot. Material nature has to give us a lot of punches from all sides. And you will get tired one day, had enough of from all sides you are getting it. You will feel that you had enough. So at least what will happen then, the mind that is wandering around in this world, in so many other places, it will slowly start going back, looking inwards. That's what will happen when it gets beaten outside. From inside at the same time, through the help of, that is the duty of the spiritual master, isn't it? He has to pull you inwards towards the soul. That is spiritual life. Spiritual life is all about that. That take your attention outside from the world. That's what the first verse in the Grihastharam says, although we don't take it seriously. Samsara bhavan analinka loka pranaya karunyakhanatvam praptasya kalyana gumanamasya vande viroshri charnavindam. That samsara bhavan analinka loka. Samsara is a dhavananam, it's a forest fire. And from that we have to first understand there is a forest fire. We are saying where is the fire? There is no fire there. There is a fire standing there inside. Why do you worry about forest fire? That's not that forest fire is talking about birth, death, old age and disease. And all the other three kinds of miseries, Adhyatmam, Adibhaviyam, Adidevam, constantly busy with sorting out this world. That's what our life is here, isn't it? All life, whole time, morning to night, what do we do? Sorting out daily problems, one thing or the other. Pay this bill, that bill, or fixing this, fixing that. Or somebody is asking this, somebody asking something else, you have to give that. So many things like this. Practically the whole daytime activity till we go to sleep. After whole day suffering all that, and a big relief when you go to bed. Isn't it? So another day is over. Thing like that. So that itself is an indication that actually there is only misery on offer in different grades and different levels. But we keep on working with that, thinking that one day it will all going to come. One day will never come. It will go on like this from beginning to end. So that's why that Vairagyam is necessary in order that spiritual knowledge to work. Otherwise, all these Upanishads, everything, even though you may study everything and intellectually understand, but in order that to function, to have its impact on the person, it is necessary. So, therefore, outside Krishna gives that distress in some form, or Krishna beats us with the fire of knowledge, with the powerful knowledge inside. And inside, that meditation starts. We ourselves voluntarily go in that direction and start accepting this understanding from the Shastram, and we start meditating on that. So in other words, from outside to pull us towards the heart inside, and in other words, outside detachment and renunciation from this world, and inside there is bhakti. That is bhakti. Inside bhakti, outside Vairagyam. That is how it is. Inside bhakti, outside Vairagyam. Bhakti means you have to remember, not in the way what we normally talk about, what the way Krishna has spoken in the Bhagavad Gita. Adveshta sarvabhutanam maitrakarmaye vacha narmamo nirahankara samadukha suvakshami sandushta sadadam yogi. All those verses till the end. That is bhakti. That is Krishna's bhakti. What Krishna calls it bhakti. So that bhakti inside, outside Vairagyam, that is what is the principle behind it. So, once this bhakti develops very strongly, or naturally that Vairagyam will also get strengthened outside. And in other words, when Bhakti gets stronger, Vairagyam will get stronger. Or reverse way also, when Vairagyam gets stronger, Bhakti will get stronger. Both sides, both ways it works. When Bhakti becomes very stronger, Vairagyam will also become strong. When Vairagyam gets stronger, Bhakti will also become very strong inside. So therefore, you will see in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhakti Devi talks to Sri Narada Maharshi, isn't it? You know that story, Padma Puranam story. Bhakti talks to Narada Maharshi. It says there, Bhakti is the mother, Vairagyam and Jnanam is the two children. What does Bhakti Devi say to Narada Maharshi? Bhakti Devi says to Narada Maharshi, my children, they look so old. Please wake them up. They are not getting up. They are very tired and they are very weak. They can't get up. And the mother appears young. Oh, Bhakti, she appears young. Narada Maharshi is asking, how a young mother has such a tired and old children like this? That's not possible. Mother should be older, a lot older than the children, isn't it? So, from that question itself, it's all spoken in a way to make us understand this connection with the Bhakti, Jnana, Vairagyam. That is why that story has been spoken. Our mind will go in another direction. We will start thinking, young lady was lying there, the two old men as their children. We will give importance to all those things. We won't understand the principle behind it. Idea behind that is, the point what Padma Puranam is telling us is, in Puranam all stories are like that. It will only tell us, so that people will somehow or the other read. Story means you will read it, isn't it? Otherwise you won't read. If you say Jnana, Vairagyam, Bhakti, who reads? Who will read it? They will say there is no time for all those things. Everything is abstract. So, Vedavyasa Maharshi deliberately put them like this. Bhakti is sitting there, young lady, and Jnana, Vairagyam are lying there, two old men. And she is saying to Sri Narada Maharshi, please get them back to health. They are very old. So, because Narada Maharshi knows, if Jnana Vairagyam wakes up, Bhakti will feel the benefit. Bhakti will get the strength. And when Vairagyam gets very strong, then Bhakti will feel the benefit from it. That Bhakti will stay. Without Jnana Vairagyam, if there is Bhakti, that Bhakti is always in trouble. Without Jnana Vairagyam, renunciation and knowledge, if Bhakti is there, that Bhakti will always be crying. That is why these three things, Bhakti, Jnanam, Vairagyam, all three of them, without Jnana Vairagyam, Bhakti cannot go further. Bhakti cannot go further. So, Bhakti Devi says to Narada Maharshi that if Vairagyam and Jnanam gets up, if they get the strength, then I can walk. That is how it is put in the Padma Puranam. Bhakti Devi says that if Vairagyam and Jnanam gets up, then we can all walk together. Otherwise, I can't carry these two. She says to Sri Narada Maharshi at that time. So if the bhakti gets very strong inside, then Vairagyam will come. That is also another indication. If you see a lot of Vairagyam in a person, you can take it that his bhakti is strong inside. Bhakti is very strong because that goes hand in hand. It has to be like that. It has to be like that. Gopi says like this, isn't it? If you look into Govika Geetam, you will see a verse there. Itara raga vismaranam mranam adhara viranaste adharamukam. It says there that when we got our attachment to Krishna, they say like that, isn't it? Padisdhanvaya bhradravam dhava adivilangire achuda gadaham. If you look into in the Govika Geetam, the 10th canto, chapter 31. Verse 14. Suradavardhanam shogamashanam Swarida Venuna Sushtuchumbitam Idaraka Vismaranam Mrunam Vidara Viranastena Dharamudam. says Suradavardhanam Shogamashanam, that attachment to Krishna, what has happened with that is Suryavenana Sushtu Chumbinam, that their attachment to Krishna, although they came with that lusty desires towards Krishna, in course of time, that attachment has developed in this way, all other attachments left them. That doesn't happen in the mundane world, does it? We will get attached everywhere, and then we run around all over the world to keep the attachment going everywhere. But in Krishna's case, gopis are saying, when they got attached to Krishna, all other attachments left them. Itararaga means all other attachment, Vismaranam Nranam, has left him. Adharavina say Adharamadam. So when attachment to Krishna happened, all other attachments left them. That is, when they say attachment to Krishna means, here again, in Bhakti language when you say, gopis got attached to Krishna. In the Jnani's language, it means the devotee attached to the soul, in other words, self-realization. That's what it means. So when attachment to self-realization happens, attachment to Krishna happens, all other attachments naturally goes away. And that attachment to Krishna or self-realization is called bhakti. So, Itararaga Vismaranam Ranam Adharaviyanaste Adharamadam. So there they are saying this attachment means, in general terms, it is what Krishna calls it as asakti. That attachment is called asakti. So, if all that attachment goes away to everything else in this world, and at that time, if one engages in bhakti, vairagyam will naturally come to that person. And if a little bit of detachment, renunciation comes to him, very easily his bhakti will become very strong, very sound and strong. It will develop very strongly. So here, in these verses, here vairagyam, in order to strengthen the vairagyam in a person, these 31 verses, Bhajagovindam, has been spoken. And Swayam Pradasha Anandayati, who commented on this Bhajagovindam, he insists that the purpose of this Bhajagovindam prayers is to create the vairagyam in a person. So this song, Bhajagovindam, has come. Therefore, another name of this Bhajagovindam is Mohamudgara. Moha means illusion, the illusioniness. The hammer that smashes our illusion. Attachment is nothing but an illusion, isn't it? Attachment is nothing but an illusion. To smash that illusion, there's a hammer, and that hammer is this prayers. And so he came to Benares when he was 11 years old, and this wonderful thing he says there, that the unusual phenomenon that at such an early age, at the age of 8 years itself, by now he has mastered all the Vedas. He has mastered all the Vedas. And then he is looking now for the spiritual master when he came to Madhya Pradesh at that time. He wanted to meet the spiritual master. So you can see in his own case that he has studied Shastram well before he approached the spiritual master. Because that is the process that he has to follow. And you can imagine 7, 8 years old, that what do you see nowadays, 7, 8 years old child? The mother is driving the 8-year-old child in the 4-wheel drive into the school to make him more ignorant about the truth, isn't it? You go and unload the child there and you run away from there. And after 10, 12 years he spends there. So 10, 12 years you have brought him back every day in your 4-wheel vehicle. Then after that you ask him one day, do you understand God exists? He says, does he? He'll ask you back, does he exist? That's what he has learned after 12 years, isn't it? So that's the same thing here, that here an 8-year-old child walked over 1,000 miles to meet his spiritual master, to get the transcendental knowledge from him. So therefore, why? Because Acharya Swamiji was like camphor, was ready for that. So not like the wet wood. Therefore, when he saw his his spiritual master, Govinda Bhagavad, that is his spiritual master's name. He asked this child that at such an early age, when he heard that, such a long distance he has walked to come to him, to meet that urgency in him to know the truth, seeing that Govinda Bhagavad himself was very shocked to seeing that jnana inside, the inquisitiveness in the child. So, if he comes with such a shraddha inside, so shraddha was so strong inside, is there any possibility of not knowing the truth? Not knowing the truth. The spiritual master was so pleased to have a disciple like that, who is like a camphor, isn't it? All he needed was the touch. And when he saw that, and seeing that child's jnana inside, inquisitiveness inside, he says, Govinda Bhagavad says, how can we leave this place without realization from the truth? So he asked him, the child, little boy 8 years old, he's asking him, my dear young little boy, who are you? He says, asking, who are you? Kastom Bala. There's a whole conversation in the biography mentions about that. So, when I see you, the spiritual master is saying, I'm feeling immense bliss inside. And I'm also feeling extremely in a shanti state comes to me. And who are you? In reply to that, this 8-year-old boy chanted 10 verses to him. That is known as famous Dashashloki. 10 verses in reply to that question. Dashashloki is called. And what is interesting about that, whatever he has spoken in those 10 verses when he was 8 years old, when he was leaving his body, when he was 32 years old, while he was leaving his body, his major disciples asked him, please tell us about the absolute truth while leaving the body. And the same 8 verses, 10 verses he spoke when he was 8 years old, he repeated the same thing at 32. What is the importance of that? Importance is this, that spiritual knowledge is not something you develop. Whereas science, modern science and other knowledge in this world, you develop, isn't it? You keep changing, in other words. Development means changing. That's what it is, isn't it? We say we have developed more. Technology we developed. Science we have developed. All other knowledge, we develop them. Spiritual knowledge doesn't need development. Spiritual knowledge is spiritual knowledge. It is true before the creation. It is true now. It will be the true, same truth after the creation. That is the power of the soul. Na sado vidyave bhavo, na bhavo vidyave sada. Ubhayorapi drishtvandam stanayor tattvadarshini. You remember that verse? That's exactly what happened there. So those 10 verses, what he spoke at that time, they are very famous, known as Dashashloki. 8-year-old child is replying spiritual master's question, asking him, who are you? He asked. And in answer to that, he is replying them. So, and this Dashashloki, 10 verses, when he was 32 years old, he was giving the same verses to Palpavada. Palpavada was another important disciple, major disciple, one of the 4 major disciples. He was talking to him the same thing. The same 10 verses he gave to him. In other words, nothing has changed. That is why it is Sat. Sat's nature doesn't change. Whatever that was true when he was 8 years old, and that is still true when he is 32 years old. Whereas all other language in this world we would have developed to so much. And that disease is still strong in us. That is why we say any great personality who has given us some spiritual understanding, spiritual knowledge, that books we have no right to touch them and change them. We have no right to do that. We are saying that we need editing because probably we didn't understand everything well. That's why we are editing now. Isn't it? All bogus things. This is not bona fide spiritual life. This is all coming from ignorance, a complete misunderstanding. If it is spiritual life, if it is true then and it is true now. And it will be true forever. It cannot change. That is how spiritual life is. It has to be true. Otherwise it is asat. Otherwise, if it is changing and editing is required, Bhagavad Gita, they have not started editing yet. If they could, they may. But what I'm saying is that editing is not a thing done with spiritual text. Whatever message is given, that is it. That's that person's realization, what he has spoken from that state. By imitating, nothing will happen. You are actually taking it. So those 10 verses, what is mentioned there is Na bhumi. When he asked him, he said, replies like this: Na bhumi, na toyam, na tejo, na vayu, na khamnendriyam va, na tesham samoha, anekandigatval ashuttega siddha, tadeva vashishtam shiva kevaloha. That's how he's saying. And the first verse is like this: Na bhumi, na toyam, na tejo, na vayu. I'm not earth, water, air, ether or fire. Na kham. Kham is the sky. The sky. So I'm none of those material elements. Na indriyam va tesham samuha. No, I am any of those senses or the combination of all these things. Anekandigatval Anekandigatval sushutyeka siddham tadevo vashishtam shiva kevaloha. The only place, he says here, only you can access to him because of his limiting factors. Limiting factors means he is limited, the soul is limited in the vacant state, isn't it? Also in the dream state. But the self exists by itself only in the deep sleep. So he says here, Anekandigatval sushutyeka siddha. Only in the sushutti state he is on his own. All other times he is with others. In the dream state he is with the mind and senses also to some extent, but mainly the mind. And in the vacant state he is with gross body, mind, intelligence, senses, everything. He is with everything. So he says here, Anekandigatva sushutyeka siddha. In sushutti you can get him. He is on his own. Tadeva vashishtam shiva kevaloha. That's me, he says. This is the first verse he spoke, age of 8. At the age of 8 years old child, he is saying this to Govinda Pada. Govinda Pada is hearing this. So after discarding everything else, that means in the senses, mind, and he says there, Shiva Kevaloham. I am that thing, most auspicious thing, and which has no attributes. In other words, you can't impose anything upon that. It is completely independent. Non-dual substance, entity who alone remains. That non-dual substance, you know what that means? Non-dual substance means? Non-dual substance means, you remember this verse? Vadantita tuttuvidam tattvam jnanam advayam. There that word comes advayam, non-dual. I don't know what we understood with that word advayam. Advayam means that there you can't have two. Advayam is one. If it is two, then there is a what we call as the Veda Buddhi will come there. Veda. Soul is one and the soul is the same. And you can't say this soul is better than the other soul. You will never say like that. On bodily level, yes. Swabhavam, yes, but Swarupam same. Swarupam, it is the same. Swabhavam, it can be different. So that's why he's saying here, Tadevo Vashishtam Shiva Kevaloham. So in Sushutti state, you may have a glimpse of him. If you have done proper Atma Vicharam, Brahma Vicharam, you will have a glimpse of him in the Sushutti state. But after rejecting everything, whatever is left behind, Tadevo Vashishtam Shivam, it is auspicious, Kevaloham, and that. That's how that verse begins. So we'll stop there today. We'll start tomorrow and day after. We'll discuss Srimad Bhagavatam from where we stopped last time. That's the 10th canto, verse chapter 29. And continue up to 33. Whatever we can do in the next 2 days, we'll do that. And then if we're not finished, we'll continue in July. All those who Srila Prabhupada.